love, crimson blood, poison, eternity, revenge, two, sacrifice, mother, ritual, scarlet, prayers, heresy, hell, solitude, clouded sky, madness, God of word, adore us.
今日の午後からはお天気が崩れるでしょう。ですが、明日の13日金曜日は一日晴れとなる見込みです。さて、続いて各地の気温です。
何？なんか聞こえた？
お、なんだ？地震！
ちょっと痛い！ねえ、ちょっと上見て！
何か落ちてくるぞ。逃げるんだ！
やばいって！
The seeds never were, and mankind remains unforgiven.
Drakengard, no, not Drakengard, has a reputation of being that one game by Yoko Taro that is one of the worst, but still the one that kicked off the monolithic game series that he went on to be known for. I don't agree, at least on the basis of the story. I think the story of Drakengard is a thematic and metaphorical gem. The gameplay is indeed something to desire though. It is clunky, dated, and a somewhat failed vision due to the limitations the team had. To quickly get this out of the way, this video is not focusing on Drakengard 2 or 3 or the NieR games. It is almost exclusively about Drakengard 1, although I may take some sources from these games for the sake of additional context and information, and I may bring up NieR towards the end as it is relevant to one of the endings in Drakengard 1. This is to allow a more focused video about this game, which is unlike any of the other games Yoko Taro has made. I expect many fans of NieR to have at least heard of Drakengard and how meh it is from other YouTubers and from word of mouth. But hey, if this is you, please give this video a chance to at least expand your knowledge, and if it doesn't, that's completely fine. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, of course. If you are worried that by not covering the other two games that you won't get the full story, worry not, because this game's story is extremely self-contained. The reason I am covering this game is because of the following. It is misunderstood and underrated, even with its reputation. That and the story of this game is unlike anything I've witnessed in any other piece of media, even after I played the game as a kid and came across it once more in my late teens. Because I do not wish to go through the hassle of both finding my PlayStation 2 and setting up a recording hardware on it, I am using an emulator. Because of this, I must state that the footage of the game in this video does not really reflect graphically how the game looks on the PlayStation 2. In this video, the footage is very high definition, which was not really a thing in 2003. On screen right now is a comparison. The reason I am doing this is to mostly retain the quality of the video, but I am choosing not to play the game in, for example, 4K, because I do not wish the game to look so good to the point of it looking fake. This game is by no means perfect. In fact, it is far from it. The combat is flawed and the graphics are dated for even a 2003 release, which, to remind you, had games such as Silent Hill 3 and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Graphical fidelity isn't the beacon of what makes a game great though, so this video's critiques will focus more so on my former point of gameplay. I say this, but I don't actually think it is as bad as other people say it is. Yes, even after this video showing off the combat and stating the game came out 2 years after Devil May Cry. Which makes me sound goddamn insane, I know. I do genuinely believe that the commentary surrounding this game by many people is mostly disingenuous, and dumbed down all whilst pointing at it while stating, haha, look, it's the silly weird little game with a weird and creepy story with the funny ending that leads to NieR. And many NieR fans sadly eat this up without giving the game any real chance or analysis. This game is an aggressive, bleak, upsetting and ruinous experience that has defined my taste in dark fantasy for much of my life. It features writing that was unique then and now. with subjects and characters that wouldn't pass in larger modern studios' projects, even with a mature rating. I mean, this game literally only exists because it wasn't properly checked by Square Enix. I will go over that later. The music of this game is a bellowing choir of chaos that perfectly fits it. The world building is vague and bleak, which is fitting considering that the whole setting of Drakengard feels just like that. This is not a bad thing. Just because a setting doesn't have super detailed lore doesn't mean it isn't thought about enough or had effort put into it. Sometimes the priority is theming, storytelling, and characterization, which is evident here considering they are Drakengard's strong point. For those who clicked on this video and already know about Drakengard, welcome. I hope I can at least give you a good thing to watch on the side, or for you to learn some things new in the game. To those who are completely new to this game, you are in for a very wild ride, and I hope that I can be a good tour guide. As usual, my sources and music used are in the description alongside my Twitter and Patreon. If you want to support this channel, you can also become a member via the join button. In return, you will get some perks such as shoutouts at the end of videos and early access to videos. Alright, let's go. This is Drakengard. Drakengard, or Dragon Dragoon in Japan, was first conceptualized in 1999, in a conversation between Enix producer Takamasa Shiba and Ace Combat 3 director Takuya Iwasaki. Sometime after this, Iwasaki quit Namco after Ace Combat 3's completion and founded Caviar with Shiba, the aforementioned Enix producer. Caviar will go on to be the developers behind Drakengard, with the team assigned to the game being named Project Dragonsphere. Drakengard was Shiba's first project as a producer. Iwasaki and Shiba at this time had no experience with creative writing. It was here that Yoko Taro joined the project as the art director, but his initial art did not impress the team. Despite this, since Iwasaki became busy with other projects, Taro was assigned to direct Drakengard and write its script alongside Sawako Natori. The lead programmers were Toshiyuki Koike and Takeshi Katayama. The CGI cutscenes of the game were created by Studio Anima. Drakengard's dark tone was unlike anything Enix had produced before, and being worried that the game could be cancelled due to this, Taro consulted with Enix producer Yosuke Saito. Saito flew to Los Angeles so he could pitch Drakengard at the E3 event, but due to the Sony staff being so exhausted after the sheer magnitude of pitches that day, they simply approved Drakengard without even reviewing it. This sounds quite ridiculous, but remember that this is the very early 2000s. Things weren't as formal as they are now. Either way, this approval greenlit Drakengard for full-scale development. The success of Dynasty Warriors 2, which released on the 3rd of August 2000 in Japan, further pushed Shiba for the inclusion of ground battles. The Ace Combat-esque inspirations remained, but the game now included a Muso aspect to it, which is the genre the Warriors series belongs to. Because of this, the game had to be rebalanced to better incorporate both aerial and ground gameplay, with aerial combat sometimes being included even in the ground missions. This caused setbacks in development, as the team had trouble with the transitions between the melee and flying modes in the ground levels in the game, thanks to the PlayStation 2 hardware. In 2003, Shiba explained that Caviar had been inexperienced in creating action games, and as such it was not up to the standards of its contemporaries at the time, such as the aforementioned Dynasty Warriors. During development, Enix merged with Square, becoming Square Enix. At this time, Drakengard's advisory board was repeatedly asked to change the game's content, but Saito refused to do so. Drakengard was originally meant to be on 2 discs, but due to time constraints, much content was removed. Yoko Taro has explained that Drakengard's development was so stressful that he outright refused to make a sequel at the time. Quote, "Drakengard was my first game as director, and we were actually told a lot by our advisory board to do retakes and make changes, and honestly, I said, screw this, I'm not making another one." Yoko Taro wanted Drakengard to stand out amongst the other popular franchises under Square Enix's wing, such as Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. He worked to make sure the world of the game was dark and desolate, with a cast of morally grey or outright horrible characters, with uncommon and taboo themes such as cannibalism, incest, and even paedophilia. Despite many people saying that Kaim, the main character of Drakengard, is sourced out of Yoko Taro's writing style, he was actually written by Takuya Iwasaki, who also wrote Inuart and Verdelay. whilst Taro wrote the backgrounds of Seere, Leonard, and Arioch. Drakengard's world is heavily inspired by European folklore. I mean, look at the world map of Midgard. It is literally Western Europe flipped upside down. As well as this, the 1995 anime Neon Genesis Evangelion was also a large influence, especially in regards to one of the endings of the game, which was heavily inspired by the end of Evangelion, which is the movie that takes place at the very end of the anime and is also probably my favourite movie of all time. Seriously, watch Evangelion if you haven't, it will change you. Drakengard's premise is a hook for a much darker cosmic horror story, much like Evangelion is. As for Drakengard's endings, I will go into heavier detail about them later, but since Taro was told the game would not have a sequel and the stress of development caused him to blur the possibility out completely, Drakengard features 5 tragic endings that are quite infamous. Despite this, Taro did not intend for them to be depressing, but rather extraordinary and bizarre experiences that the cast must confront and deal with. The game's battle scenes were inspired by movies such as The Lord of the Rings, Gladiator, and Dragonheart, the latter of which features a similar dragon-human bond that Drakengard does. The monster and enemy designs in Drakengard were thanks to a lot of freedom the developers had in development to work and achieve Yoko Taro's vision, who was very happy with the results. Although one developer expressed that he wished that he was able to add more gigantic monsters to the field, and another expressed that they wished that they could make more enemies appear on screen at one time. The game was formally announced in December of 2002, set to be published by Enix. The year after Squaresoft and Enix had merged to become Square Enix, the game's release date in Japan of September the 11th was announced. In the West, the game was shown for the first time at E3 2003 in May of that year. At this point, the game had already been out in Japan for around half a year. To better fit a Western market, the game's title for its Western release was changed to Drakengard instead of Dragon Dragoon, due to it not sounding right for the Western market. Some localization changes happened too, with references to incest and sexual taboos being dumbed down somewhat. Despite this, they are very much present in the game. After a 4-year development cycle, the game was released on the PlayStation 2 on September the 11th of 2003, with a North American release following on March 2nd. After this, a European release happened on May the 21st. Whilst Square Enix would publish the game in Japan and North America, Take-Two Interactive would instead do so for the European release. A perhaps odd note is that the European release of Drakengard has some changes, as per the following question asked to a production manager of the game. Are there many differences between the European, Japanese and American version of Drakengard? The camera angles are different between the previous versions and the European version. The camera hangs back further from Kaim so that the player can easily maneuver the player through the world. Also, there are less bugs in the European version. A mobile port of the game also exists, being co-developed with the London-based mobile developer Macrospace as a collaboration between Square Enix and Vodafone. It was first released on Vodafone devices in Germany, then in the UK, then Spain and Italy. It was Square Enix's attempt to break into the European mobile game market. As for reviews, the Japanese audience expressed positive opinions about the game, whilst in the West, the game was praised for its story and music, but was largely mixed on the graphics and gameplay, which they criticised for being repetitive. The game sold more than 120,000 units in the first week of its Japan release. By the end of 2003, it had sold around 240,000 copies. It sold well enough to be made a part of Square Enix Ultimate Hit series, which were re-releases of popular titles. The game's sales were attributed to its cinematic story and similarity to Dynasty Warriors, at least in gameplay. In Europe, the game sold around 110,000 units until September of 2004. The game's strength to most critics is its story. Quote, "Though the story itself is awkwardly paced and is sometimes difficult to keep up with, it becomes one of the most motivating factors for wanting to get all the way through the game." Another strength of the game to reviewers were the CGI cutscenes, which I also agree is a part of the strength of the game. They are fantastic. Drakengard's soundtrack amongst those who have listened to it is extremely divisive. Some say it is outright bad even, but I think many actually miss the point of the music in the game. It was composed by Takayuki Aihara and Nobuyoshi Sano, who was also the sound director of the game. Both composed games before Drakengard, and Sano went on to compose for Drakengard 2 alongside Aoi Yoshiki, where they took a more traditional approach to his compositions than in Drakengard 1, which is a lot more experimental. Drakengard's soundtrack is largely made up of phrases and samples from existing classical pieces that were morphed and changed to match the atmosphere of the game. Techniques such as reverse playback, which was common in club music, was used to make the soundtrack unlike anything anyone had heard before. Quote, "It was the result of our efforts to bring to life through music the almost trance-like atmosphere of slicing and attacking the swarming enemies during gameplay and the story, more strongly coloured by madness and despair as it progresses." Sano also expressed that the soundtrack of Drakengard isn't really to be recommended as music, but rather as the soundtrack of Drakengard. When you listen to it, he hopes you are taken back to the story and to the battlefields of the game, to the painful and strange memories that are not easily forgotten. He achieved this. There is nothing truly like the soundtrack of Drakengard 1. Sano stated the following regarding the various adjusted samples collected by Aihara during the composition stage of Drakengard. Quote, "When I heard these performed by full orchestra one after another during recording, it felt strange, like I was perverting history somehow. When we began to compile the recorded data, it may have been the sheer amount of stored information, but I approached creating anew from these sounds with a fervour that could never be compared to a breakbeat track. And then, as if in a trance, the music was completed. Afterwards I would take the time to listen objectively, cutting out parts that were unnecessary, and this merciless work would inspire me further. If you have never really enjoyed classical music or actively dislike it, I believe that this music can help to change the way you think of it. After all, the first was true of me." End quote. There exists a video on YouTube that lists all the samples and plays the respective music from Drakengard that uses them. I will play some portions from that video now, but just know this isn't my video. All credits go to Saga on YouTube. This video is linked in the sources in the description. During composition, Takayori Aihara felt he largely disregarded the player's wishes of a soundtrack in the game in the genre Drakengard belongs to. This wasn't really intended though, as he was anxious he may do so. After making 10 tracks, he looked over them, and questioned if he had made the correct choices when creating them. He also rewrote some compositions over 10 times, as he wanted to get them right for the vision at hand. After this anxiety though, Aihara felt good knowing that he became an artist for such a project. Takamasa Shiba, the producer, said the following regarding the game's soundtrack. Quote, "The music has contributed immeasurably to the game's impression. Among the biggest factors in getting it off the ground were those mystical sounds. I asked the music director, Denji Sano, for something that has a, quote, classical refinement, but also a pitch-black madness to fit the game, end quote. Hearing the completed tracks, I began to vocalize my satisfaction without realizing it. As it used a live orchestra, the sound quality was high, and since it used famous pieces of music as its base, the classical part of the request was fulfilled. But what exactly was this dislocating feeling I was having? Mr. Sano had dissolved the famous melody of The Firebird, and with his art, reshaped it into something entirely different. By infusing elements of madness, classicism, and originality throughout the music, perhaps when Mr. Sano hears about the player's opinions, he'll simply grin like Kime would. It was all part of the plan. End quote. I believe Drakengard's soundtrack is the penultimate example of a soundtrack that puts the vision before the enjoyment of the listener, but even then, I actually quite enjoy the soundtrack. The soundtrack was originally released under the label Marvelous Entertainment, being produced by Square Enix in 2 volumes under the names Dragon Dragoon Soundtrack Volume 1 and Volume 2, on October the 22nd and November the 1st of 2003 respectively. The album released caused some critics to give their commentary on the music of the game, with a reviewer for RPG Fan calling it, quote, extremely experimental, end quote, and that you need to be open-minded to listen to it, which I somewhat agree with. The release contains 47 tracks, including unpublished ones and unused ones. It is just over 2 hours long and was re-released on April the 20th of 2011. Fun fact, much of Drakengard's music is actually lost media. Not many people really know this, but the music used in many of the cutscenes in the game cannot be extracted because it isn't separated from the cinematics in the game's data. Some people may be able to isolate it, but at the end of the day the actual tracks aren't available anywhere on the internet. This is a shame because the music used in some of the cutscenes are really, really enjoyable. Drakengard belongs in the Musou genre, which holds connotations of killing many enemies in a large open area and achieving a certain objective. Essentially a power fantasy action RPG. This genre was popularized with the release of the Dynasty Warrior series by Omega Force, published by Koei Tecmo. Drakengard's combat is, well, not as good as those games, but it is my less popular opinion that it isn't as bad as people say it is. Let me paint you a picture. In Drakengard, Kime can equip up to 8 weapons at one time between levels, or, as the game puts it, verses, which are what make up chapters. You can freely switch between weapons as long as Kime is on the ground and as long as you aren't in an event verse, which are story-related verses where you can only use Kime's sword. Because this is a PS2 game, I will refer to the glyphs on that controller for the following. Pressing square will deliver a light attack, which can be simultaneously pressed and made into a combo, with the combo getting longer and more powerful the higher level the weapon is. You level weapons by, well, killing enemies with them. Meaning the fastest way to level weapons is to actually play on the earliest level possible and go crazy, because the enemies there have lower health. Kime earns XP as he kills enemies and becomes stronger from it as he levels up as well, with each level increasing his health as well as the dragons. As well as this, you may press the triangle button to unleash magic, which changes depending on the weapon you are currently holding. Some weapons' magics are fireballs, some are diagonal ice attacks, some are rocks that split the earth, some cause you to summon runes on the ground which damage enemies, some cause you to go invisible, and some give you defensive measures. There is a lot of variety with the magic in Drakengard. Casting magic requires mana, which is replenished by killing enemies. Another thing you can do is charge attack by running for around 5 seconds before striking with square, unleashing a powerful thrusting attack that knocks enemies over. Health, meanwhile, is generated by picking up health orbs found in the game by meeting certain combo requirements on enemies, or by simply finding them in chests. Other power-up orbs exist in the game too, and health orbs come in both small and large variations. When you land a 50-hit combo, a damage orb appears, which, upon collection, deals moderate damage to the surrounding enemies in a large explosion. Achieving a 100-hit combo will drop a power orb as long as your HP is full, which increases your damage for a short time. Orbs stay on the field for 30 seconds before vanishing. You can also block attacks with L2 and dodge roll with R1 and L1 respectively, which can be helpful against certain enemies. The camera of Drakengard is another large critique of the game, as if you move it with the right analog stick, it will snap back into place as it's based on movement, so a lot of the time you are actively fighting the camera. This is something about Drakengard that I can't really defend. I don't really know what Project Dragonsphere were thinking with this. There were many action titles and games in general at the time that let you fully control the camera. There is, however, a trick to managing the camera. Blocking will flip the camera around to the direction you blocked in, which is what I use to manage the camera for most of my time with the game. Casting magic also does this. Enemies on the ground are quite simple in Drakengard. Most enemies that have larger health pools will, after being damaged enough, block your attack, then quickly counter you. This is how enemies in the game counter you and stop you from stun-locking them constantly. Although you can still do this. By casting magic during a combo, Kaim will do a unique slam attack. This will inevitably stun all enemies in the area, and you can easily chain stun most enemies in the game by doing this. Enemy groups are often led by a commander, which, upon being defeated, decreases the effectiveness of their subordinates. At least that is what it says in the game's booklet. A lot of the time I didn't actually notice this happening. There are a total of 65 weapons that can be found in Drakengard, with the starting weapon being Kaim's sword, which has the aforementioned fireball magic. Some weapons are found in chests, whilst others are given as rewards for meeting specific conditions, such as killing a certain amount of enemies, or clearing a stage under a specific time, because yes, each verse is timed, and this time varies. If you simply want to complete the verse though, you don't really need to worry about it, because it does give you plenty of time to do just that. Some weapons cannot be found on the easy difficulty either, which is quite an odd design choice in my eyes, because to complete all the endings in Drakengard you must collect all 65 weapons, which means that the final and penultimate ending the game is known for is completely unavailable to a large set of players. Of course, the solution to this is to just change the difficulty, but it doesn't change the fact that it's kind of a pointless design decision. Speaking of difficulty, there are two settings, easy and normal, not hard. Easy mode reduces damage taken, reduces enemy HP, and also reduces the amount of enemies on the map at one time. In general though, Drakengard is quite an easy game barring a few specific encounters. Most of my deaths, if not 95% of them, were to boss fights. There are 10 swords, 14 longswords, 10 spears, 4 staves, 6 axes, 8 polyaxes, 9 maces, and 4 hammers. Each story has a story attached to them, which is expanded on as the weapon levels. I think that these weapon stories serve a similar role to the storytelling in the Soulsborne series, with item descriptions giving lore in small, intricate paragraphs. These are often overlooked, and whilst Drakengard's lore is still very vague in many places, these weapon stories serve to lessen that vagueness in a small capacity. I like them quite a lot. As for dragon gameplay, you can use it in most ground missions and exclusively in sky missions. Square fires a fireball, and Triangle causes a massive AoE attack on the ground or a large amount of tracking magics to be unleashed on nearby enemies if you are in a sky mission, with a very bassy sound alongside it. Holding down square in sky missions allows you to track and unleash fireballs that lock onto enemies, with the amount you can use at the time increasing as the dragon levels up during the story. What I found though is that the locked on variant of the fireballs does significantly less damage than the ones that are not locked on. As the dragon, or Angelus as she is revealed to be named in the story, or Angel in Japanese, kills enemies, she gains XP, which in turn increases her power. At certain parts of the game, too, the dragon changes forms. There are a total of 5 forms in the game, with the last one being a reward for 100%ing it. Each form dramatically increases the dragon's power and changes her appearance. Drakengard has some difficulty spikes, and the game knows this, giving you the opportunity to go back to grind out XP points if needed. To some, this is a lazy way of balancing out the game, giving players an easy but cheap way of surpassing battles they otherwise will struggle on without the option to grind. During Drakengard's narrative, you find and collect party members, who, most of the time, canonically fly on the dragon with you between levels. They can also talk to you across large distances, which is explained during the story section. Whilst you are on the ground though, you can press circle to summon an ally. When summoned, each ally has an unlimited amount of MP that comes from his or her pact partners. The HP of the ally slowly decreases when summoned, as well as when they are attacked by enemies. You're only allowed to summon one ally 3 times in each ground mission. In the game, there are a total of 3 allies you can turn into. I will go over these during the story section and how exactly they work. They are incredibly useful and powerful, especially due to their pact magic. To quickly cover animations. Drakengard's animations are pretty simple, but the weight of the dragon is a personal standout to me. The dragon genuinely feels amazing to control. and you control it with inverse controls too, which are a standout amongst flying games. Kaim's animations are less impressive, being very static as he swings his weapon, with the animation changing depending on the type of weapon he is wielding. He also has an idle animation he performs when he stands still for a while. Another detail to me is that the characters in the game will sometimes plead with Kaim to not kill so many enemies, meaning that much of the time you spend completing objectives to kill certain enemies, well, it's actually just Kaim's bloodlust. This isn't always the case, however, as sometimes the enemies must be killed to achieve a certain goal, or to grind XP. Essentially, you begin to become like Kaim. His bloodlust is your dopamine, except unlike in other Musou games where your allies encourage you for massacring the enemies, you are often questioned why you are slaughtering so many. Kaim is what a Musou protagonist would really be like. Drakengard's story feels hopeless, tragic, and incredibly depressing. For much of your time in the game, you aren't really winning anything. You barely scrape by and lose almost every battle in the story, with the few victories being flattened by the enemy, who is almost always one step ahead in one form or another. Only one of the 5 endings can be considered good, whilst the rest are either straight or bad in the sense of what happens to the characters in the world, or cliffhangers. Most of the characters you meet aren't good people. Kaim, the main protagonist, is a sociopath. Inuart becomes obsessive and maniacal. Angelus is somewhat racist towards humans, and, well, I will leave the others for the story explanation itself because it gets a lot crazier than that.
I didn't realize it was even a conversation. I always assumed we would be heavily involved.
Yeah, man. We gotta definitely write a song about how we do not diddle kids. Do not diddle kids, it's no good diddling kids.
There is no quicker way for people to think that you are diddling kids than by writing a song about it.
You gotta write a song that says, ooh, I wouldn't do it with anybody younger than my daughter. No little kids, gotta be big, older than my wife, older than my daughter, something like that.
Drakengard starts out as a normal fantasy game, albeit with some dark underlying themes, but it very quickly turns on its head to show you its true psychopathic nature. Drakengard is based in Midgard, which, as I stated in the development section, is, at least geographically, Europe but turned upside down. It is considered the known world in Drakengard's world. There is a somewhat detailed history to Midgard, but much of it is sourced from Drakengard 3, which takes place before Drakengard 1. I may refer to some world building pieces that were introduced in that game. For context, Drakengard 2 takes place after one of the endings of Drakengard 1, or at least in a separate universe of such a conclusion. I will go into more detail of that later. Midgard is a fantasy world with dark fantasy and some steampunk elements. For example, there are airships with cannons and guns on them, but also ballistas and crossbows. It is quite a weird mix. I mean, why use crossbows and ballistas when you can just use, well, the guns and the cannons? I can only assume it is to do with the military costs, but I can also assume that, in writing, these things aren't really important or intended to be picked on. Much of it might simply be, airships with machine guns are cool, add them, which, well, that's cool and fine. Many monsters and creatures exist in Drakengard, both big and small, ranging from cyclopes, dragons, goblins, and more. There are beasts that exist in both ground and sky missions, although I must say I really do not like some of the enemies in the game, but these are sourced from, well, skill issues. Namely, the spectres in the sky levels can only be damaged if it throws its scythe at you, giving you a very short chance to damage it, and any ranged enemy on the ground can snipe you from Dragonback very easily. Gameplay aside though, these designs rule, being designed by Taro Hasegawa. One of my favourite designs is the Cyclops, which is a construct built by the humans in Drakengard. Despite this point of origin though, the Cyclops are very clearly out of control, having its hands behind its back, meaning all it can really do is shoot from its eye. Kaim is the main character of Drakengard, and he is mentally ill. Throughout the game you see him kill literally thousands of people. He is, by all means, a mass murderer. You may ask yourself why I wouldn't say this about literally any other video game character that kills people, especially ones from the Musou genre, which by the way means unmatched in English. Well, simple, because Drakengard makes a commentary about it, and it is central to Kaim's character and the thematic elements laid out in the game. Characters commonly comment on Kaim's bloodlust, and even in cutscenes he is seen to be incredibly sadistic towards, well, not just his enemies, but towards those who stand nearly no threat to him at all, including children, both armed and unarmed. He is known for his sadistic, wide, and somewhat hilarious grin which exudes his sociopathic behaviour up front, as he cannot do so through his voice alone, although he does that in the first mission of the game when he has the chance to do so.
You shall feed the ravens.
It isn't just in self-defense, as Kaim goes out his way to absolutely massacre his enemies. Keep in mind too that many of the common Empire soldiers are simply pawns being controlled and aren't acting on their own ventures. Kaim, despite this, kills them all the same. By all means, Kaim is a sociopath. However, the stories outside the game, being those from the official guidebook and from the book Dragon Dragoon Inside World, which features extra stories related to characters across all the games, do paint Kaim in a lighter tone. Another argument could be made that Kaim's wrath is sourced from his need for revenge over his parents' murder at the hands of an Imperial Black Dragon. I personally don't think this is true, at least not totally. As stated, Kaim does things in the game that suggest he is, by all means, forged by his desire for revenge so much that it splashes onto people that aren't distinctively Imperial. He isn't a good person, but he was made that way by both his past and the world as a whole, and the pressures of the story make the worst side of him come out. Before the events of the game, Kaim spent a significant amount of time reveling in the violence of war as a soldier of the Union. Despite this, the reason I don't refer to him as a psychopath, but instead a sociopath, is because he does show care and love for people. He genuinely loves his sister, and forms a strong relationship with Angelus through the game, which I will clarify more on later. The official website description of Kaim, though, includes his claims to fight for his sister and to avenge his parents' death ring hollow. In truth, he battles to quell the rage inside him. His care for Angelus, however, does ring true, and not without much contest in the first ending of the game. Kaim's sword, as it levels and reveals more story, reveals that it was, quote, a gift to Kaim from his beloved father. Since he was a young child, Kaim had idolized his gentle father, and longed to fight strongly and bravely in battle with him. But the dark shadow of the Empire fell over their peaceful kingdom. The Empire grew stronger and stronger, until one day Kaim's castle was attacked by Imperial Black Dragons. Kaim, take Fury Eye and flee, so ordered Kaim's father. But even before Kaim was able to answer, his parents were slain before his very eyes. Clutching the sword that was a gift from his father, Kaim swore upon it revenge for the loss of his kingdom and the murder of his parents. Even now, an unquenchable rage still fills his heart. Kaim is often the largest connotation of internet discussion regarding Drakengard, and that makes perfect sense. He is unlike most video game protagonists. He isn't depicted as a good person, and some may argue he is outright evil. Yet despite this, he is the hero in a story of imperfect people. He isn't the morally brightest person in the story, not even close, but he has the power to achieve the peace the world requires within the narrative, which puts him in the position of the main protagonist. Another perspective you can have on him is one of a victim. His only family member left is being hunted, and the world is constantly punishing him and giving him an excuse to be violent. For the smaller details, Kaim is around 180 cm or 5'9", and is 24 during the events of Drakengard. In the Japanese version of the game, he is voiced by Shinosuke Ikigata, and in the English dub, which is what I am using for this video, he is voiced by Philippe Cooper. Despite Kaim becoming mute in the early events of the game, the voice lines he has are really well delivered. Alright, now we have Kaim's base personality, backstory and appeal out of the way, let's get into the outright insane story of Drakengard. Before Drakengard's first chapter, there is a small piece of exposition by Verdelay, who is a character introduced later in the game.
It is an ancient time, and dragons still roam upon the earth. Two great powers, the Union and the Empire, wage fierce war for the control of a goddess who protects the harmony of the world. In only a short time, The Empire has become powerful beyond reckoning, and now it turns to attack the castle where the Union safeguards the goddess. The world teeters on the brink of chaos. Its fate now lies in the hands of one man.
From the start of Drakengard there exist two prominent factions, the Empire and the Union. The Empire is a religious monarchy that rules much of the known world, with its government known as the Cult of the Watchers, who worship a pantheon of entities called the Watchers. The Empire is a successor state to the Intona Empire, which was a focus of Drakengard 3, which, as stated, takes place before this game, but you don't need to know anything about that game. The Union, on the other hand, is a coalition of several hundred minor provinces and states. In terms of pure size, the Union is smaller than the Empire. Not much is known about the kingdoms that make up the Union, but Kaim, the protagonist, is the heir to a small state within it.
It begins.
The game opens with the aforementioned siege by the Empire, who seeks to attack a Union castle where this goddess who protects the harmony of the world is safeguarded. We see this goddess, Furii, sitting in an empty room at a table, her head down praying before a book, her silhouette against the blooming open window, which flips the pages of the book. She stands and looks out the window, stating it begins. Enter Kaim, who is recklessly battling with the soldiers of the Empire on the front lines. He kills many, noticing the odd red eyes of the enemy, but is soon mortally wounded from the back. Mustering the strength to kill the man who wounded him, he sees that the Empire has managed to make their way into the castle walls, burning a Union flag. Worrying for the goddess, Furii, Kaim charges ahead to help the defense from within, despite his wounds. Kaim's determination, despite his wounds, in my eyes, is fueled by his care for Furii, who we learn from the opening dialogue within the first piece of gameplay, is his sister, meaning she, like Kaim, is also an heir to their state within the Union. Although my prior points of Kaim's vengeful nature are nodded to with the verse's exposition. Chapter 1 verse 2. Kaim and his Union soldiers battle towards the castle to protect Furii, goddess of the seals and Kaim's only sister. The Empire murdered Kaim's parents and destroyed his kingdom. Now it assaults the very castle where his sister is safeguarded. With revenge cold in his heart, Kaim hurls himself at the army of the Empire. Most verses contain pieces of exposition akin to this one, so you get a good idea of what is going on in case you aren't paying attention or are simply confused. Starting off, the game introduces you to the map and tells you what objective you must complete in order to advance from this verse of the chapter. Trust me when I say this, you will be checking your map a lot in this game. A lot of the time you will simply be told to kill specific enemies spread out on the large, albeit empty maps. Drakengard's maps are pretty big, as they are made for both ground and air combat. During this moment in the game, you don't have access to the dragon yet, but either way, this is another critique of Drakengard. The levels just feel very empty and the objective-to-objective gameplay is repetitive. My counter to this is yes, they are, but you get a lot of satisfaction from increasing your murder count at the bottom right, and you are at least working towards something. That, and the game can be difficult at times, unless you grind for levels by replaying missions. My counter to my counter is that this simply doesn't matter because it is still repetitive. In other words, I am quite torn on how I feel about the objective-to-objective flow the game has. Expanding on the UI. There is a minimap at the top right, but this only shows enemy locations and not the map itself like the one in the menu. At the bottom left, you see your magic gauge, being the green one, and your life gauge, which is the yellow one. As mentioned already in the gameplay section, you get your magic or mana back by killing enemies, and health back by collecting health orbs which drop from chests or by meeting specific combo requirements on enemies. By holding R2 you can switch weapons via a weapon wheel that appears at the top left, pausing the game when you do so. Each weapon has both an in-game and menu model, which is quite cool considering the amount of weapons there are. Should you have an ally equipped, their remaining uses are shown at the top left when you use them. Going back to the game, you must progress forward to the castle whilst taking out the Imperial commanders. Also during this time, the game states twice via Union dialogue that the goddess is Kaim's sister, really nailing home that fact. But also the fact that the Empire captured a dragon within the castle. Another thing about Drakengard that is quite uncanny is that, despite the soldiers' dialogue, you do not really see any of them on the field. There also exists dialogue in the game that suggests that Kaim has an army with him. It is most likely due to limitations that the Muso connotations of friendly soldiers was simply a budgetary limitation. As you slay these commanders and hear Kaim's bloodlust make itself known through his taunting, you reach the castle. At the end of each verse in Drakengard, you are told the total time it took you to complete it, your highest combo chain that verse, and your remaining health. Alongside this, you receive your XP gains and any weapons you collected, giving you a chance to equip them as you can change weapons between verses. Most chapters are made up of a decent amount of verses, meaning that you can get plenty of chances to change out weapons if you wish. For my playthrough though, I mainly stuck with Kaim's sword, which is what you start with. At level 4, it is very powerful. There are better weapons than that one though. On the weapon change screen, you can view the attack strength, sharpness, reach, weight, material, the amount of times it can attack in one combo, and the amount of kills needed before the next level. The cutscene after shows Kaim charging into the castle courtyard, spotting the injured red dragon laying down, succumbing slowly to its wounds.
A dragon!
Kill me if you desire, but you can never dirty my soul, wretched human.
Tell me, do you still want to live, dragon?
What?
A pact! There's no other way!
What makes you worthy of a pact with me?
Worthy or not, I wish to live. Despise me if you will, but I shall not die! Your answer! A pact or death!
During this time, we see Kaim get flashbacks of his parents' death at the jaws and talons of an imperial black dragon. What lies before him is a manifestation of much anger and rage he feels, and he attempts to strike it down, but finds that it is capable of speech. Kaim's will to live overtakes his rage, and as he says, it is a pact or death. Chapter 1 verse 4. Inside the castle, Kaim finds before him a dragon, the proud beast cruelly fettered. His parents were murdered by a dragon, but Kaim knows a pact will give him the power he needs to battle the Empire. And the dragon knows that only a pact can save its life. In the besieged castle, the dying pair make the fateful decision to live. From here, more Empire soldiers appear, and Kaim slays them. The dragon witnesses this, seeing Kaim's ferocity. Kaim fights to protect them both, but not out of care, out of selfishness, more like. Through much of the game, their relationship is a parasitic one. They depend on each other to live, but their relationship does actually develop through the game.
Now, your answer.
A pact or death. We are united by our need to live.
Well,
Yes, a pact.
Now, pacts are essentially a binding of a beast and a human, with the human losing something dear to them in exchange for this happening. Pact partners can communicate telepathically to one another, including to those nearby that aren't a part of the pair, and if one of them dies, they both die. Unfortunately for Kaim, he loses his ability to speak due to his pact with the Red Dragon. This also seems to fully heal both participants, as Kaim becomes healed from his battle wounds, and the dragon breaks free from her chains, whilst also healing. Kaim's loss of voice, alongside his pre-existing personality, reduces him to nothing more than a mute beast to some. The dragon speaks in his place for much of the game. After this point, you enter the first Skyverse. Oddly, the Union soldier that talks to you is able to do so whilst you're in the air, or it is simply base just before you take off. Who really knows, because again, we can't see them. There isn't much of a reaction out of him about the Dragon Pact either, which is quite unfortunate. Either way, you are tasked with taking out the enemies in the air and on the ground, the latter taking the form of watchtowers. During the fighting, you hear the dragon taunting, stating her superiority over the humans she is killing, or just the ones that Kaim is telling her to kill. I say this because she does question Kaim's bloodlust, even if she is the one killing enemies and not him. Chapter 1 verse 7. With the strength of the dragon, Kaim is able to destroy wave after wave of the Imperial army, but as they battle, gargoyles and warships draw closer to Furiai's castle. The enemies in the sky vary largely, with smaller enemies that group up and fire particles at you, or enemies with shields on them that must be broken before damage is dealt. Warships are large and can have turrets on them that can be individually destroyed to prevent damage from being dealt to you. Some enemies are fast, some are slow, some are static. There are more varied enemies in the sky than on the ground in Drakengard, which makes sense because, again, Drakengard started as a dragon-only game, so much of the pre-production was most likely more in-depth than the ground combat. After murdering the enemies in the air, Kaim is called back to the castle. The next verse is the first ground mission with the dragon, meaning that you can mount and dismount the dragon whenever you wish, as long as there is space to do so. It is here that you learn how deadly ranged weapons are against the dragon, but also how powerful the dragon is to the enemies on the ground. Keep in mind, though, that Kaim and the dragon do not really share XP. If one of them kills an enemy, they get the XP and not the other. This means that if you want one to be stronger, you must actively play as it in missions. This could be a good or bad thing depending on who you ask, but for me personally, I would prefer it if it was shared. Drakengard isn't a terribly hard game though, so it isn't much of an issue. Plus, it encourages switching between the two during ground missions. Another critique I have is that if you fly far enough away from an enemy, they will completely heal their HP. For most enemies, this isn't really a problem, because their health is nearly nothing anyways, but for the enemies with larger HP pools, this is very tedious. The Union soldiers despair at the Empire, saying that they fight as one. Even the dragon comments on their numbers. This, plus the red eyes we saw in the first cutscene, well, something is unnatural about all of this. Why do they want to kill the goddess who safeguards the world? We will soon find out, but at this point in the game it is all very cryptic. After clearing out the targets around the castle, you may enter inside.
So, your voice is lost. A trifling price to pay for a pact. No matter. I shall speak for the both of us. Into the castle alone? Very well. I will await you here. I will know soon enough when you die. My life is now your life. You cannot live on hatred alone.
Chapter 1 verse 10. Kaim is now mute, and the mark of the pact is branded on his tongue. Such is the price he must pay for a pact with a beast as mighty as the dragon. If the goddess Furiae is killed, the seals that protect the world from chaos will be lost. Kaim's friend Inuart is with her, but Kaim cannot delay. He must hurry to the goddess and save her. These seals, which have been mentioned multiple times, are expanded on later, and are central to Drakengard's narrative. The slaughter continues inside as Kaim charges towards Furiae on the top floor. Interiors of Drakengard are also very large, and again, you will be checking your map extremely often. During this level, you may come across a unique timed enemy, which are spread throughout the game. These enemies have a massive HP pool and are quite hard to take down in the time given, which is a minute. When they die, they drop an orb that adds an amount to your kill counter equal to the highest chain that you got on them. As Kaim pushes to Furiae, the dragon urges him to not die. After all, if he dies, she also dies. As well as this, the Imperial soldiers talk in an extremely monotone yet eerie voice, almost like they are possessed.
Die, 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 die. Our oath, the world's oath, they are the same.
Closing in on the chamber, a small cutscene plays, with Inuart confronting the soldiers surrounding the goddess, Furiae.
Stop!
Furiae!
Kaim! It's enough. He's dead. Full of bloodlust as always. But you helped me. Once again. Speak. pact. The castle is no longer safe. I thought I would take Furiai to the elf village. Since the elves are bound to eternal neutrality, their village will be a safe haven from the Empire. While it may be dangerous to take the goddess from the castle, what else is there to do? Furiai is the goddess that protects the sacred seal. But before that, she was my betrothed. I will protect her. And what about you, Kayam? You once called Furiai your sister.
Reaching Furiai's chamber, we see Kayam repeatedly stabbing the final enemy he killed there. Inuart's reaction suggests this is normal. Inuart and Furiai realise that Kayam cannot speak due to a pact, and Kayam reveals his tongue, showing a mark on it. All who have made a pact have the blackened mark on whatever they have lost. Because Kayam lost the ability to talk, his tongue is marked. Inuart reminds Kayam that Furiai must be protected, and that before she became the goddess and the one who possessed the seal, she was actually his betrothed, meaning they were set to be married. He loves her, and exclaims he will protect her. He suggests that they take her to the elf village, which is a place of neutrality between the Union and the Empire. So far, in his mind, they have the courtesy not to attack such a place. Inuart explains it as a safe haven from the Empire. Chapter 1, verse 12. Yielding to Inuart, Kayam agrees to go with Furiai, and Inuart to the elf village. Happy for the chance to travel with Furiai, Inuart sings a song. Little does he know that a false hope leads him.
Perhaps we should celebrate. The usual song?
The following cutscene opens on an eerie sight, the dead eyes of an Imperial soldier, still red with malice. Inuart celebrates the victory still, by playing his harp. Inuart, after all, is a bard, and a good friend of Kayam and someone who deeply loves Furiai. Due to her duty, however, they are no longer betrothed, but they express care for each other, and at least in Inuart's case, he loves her. Inuart sings in an unknown language. For Furiai and Inuart's smaller details, Inuart is 20 years old and 190 centimeters, 6'2", tall. Furiai is 19 and stands at 165 centimeters, which is 5'4". After this, you enter the world map screen for the first time, where you can switch between chapters, and you may progress to chapter 2. Before getting into Chapter 2, allow me to tell you what a free expedition is. Free expeditions are essentially a unique and special set of missions that are previous stages with altered enemy positions, objectives, starting positions, etc. The purpose of these missions is to allow you to replay the game's levels to find weapons you are yet to acquire, whilst also making the game feel a little fresher. It is the closest thing to New Game Plus Drakengard has. Whilst you can replay any of the normal missions at any time, they are tied to the story mode. Unlike the free expeditions, which, upon completion, will have you return to the world map. Again, they are just here to help you with collecting weapons you need or to grind XP. You unlock free expeditions when you complete the verses for such. Chapter 2, verse 1. On the trail to the neutral elf village, the small band and their escort of Union soldiers make camp, but then the dragon hears an ill-omened voice. There are a handful of times in Drakengard where you are able to control Kayam in a small area and talk to NPCs. These areas serve no purpose besides this, as there are no enemies in these areas. Talking to certain NPCs may give you extra pieces of dialogue and lore, or simply their reactions to the ongoing situation. Talking to Furiae makes it obvious that she feels the pressure of the whole situation, and the fact that she must live, as she is one of the seals that maintain harmony and order in the world. Talking to NieR triggers a cutscene, wherein you find out that the dragon realizes that the elf village has been attacked, stating she heard a voice. At this time it isn't quite clear what this means, but what we know now is that even the neutrality of the elves aren't enough to keep the Empire from attacking them. NieR, stating that they must rush to the elf village, sees Furiae's burden take form, as she struggles to move fast. She insists that she is well though, and so, after rest, they make their way to the elf village. Chapter 2, verse 2. Clouds of dark foreboding brood over the village of the elves. In the sky above the neutral lands, Kaim encounters Imperial forces amassed in preparation for assault. Battling through the sky towards the elf village, the game tells you that you can dodge and turn around with the R1 and L1 buttons. This is extremely helpful and can also be used in ground missions when on Dragonback. NieR has some questionable dialogue during this, stating that because Furiae is now the goddess and no longer his betrothed, his world is already dead. He also states that without her the world will perish, hinting what happens if all the seals are destroyed by the Empire. After clearing the sky and the ground surrounding the elf village, Kaim must dismount to reach it due to the density of the trees. They find the elf village completely destroyed, and NieR despairs. The dragon, however, states that she can hear the voice of Verdelay, who has made a pact to a petrified dragon. His price? Well, his hair. Something much lesser than Kaim, who of course lost his voice. We do not see this petrified dragon ever in the game, only in concept art. Verdelay is the hierarch of the Union, and can be considered the spiritual leader of such. The dragon states he is at a temple in the desert, and wants Furiae to go to him for her safety. NieR here expresses regret at his supposed weakness, and that he isn't strong enough to protect Furiae. Furiae insists that her songs make her calm, but NieR says that he desires strength.
Oh, Furiae, you must forgive me. I'm not strong enough to protect you.
But your songs, they calm me.
Songs? I pray for strength. Will you come?
We must investigate further. Go with Furiae and protect her. We shall follow.
Going on ahead with Furiae, Kaim and the dragon investigate the village further. Chapter 2, verse 5. The voice is that of the hierarch of Verdelay, the spiritual leader of the Union and the guardian of the four seals. The seal of the ocean, the seal of the desert, the seal of the forest, and the seal of the goddess herself. After seeing Furiae and NieR go to join Verdelay, Kaim searches the village. There, beside an Imperial soldier's body, is a message written in blood. Through this verse's exposition, we learn that there are 4 seals that must be maintained to keep the world's harmony intact. Kaim approaches the message on the ground, and the dragon translates it.
Speak not the watchers, draw not the watchers, write not the watchers, sculpt not the watchers, sing not the watchers, call not the watcher's name. What is this?
Pressing further into the village, Kaim comes across a dying elven woman, who tells him that the cult of the Watchers has a shrine, where the rest of the surviving elves have been taken. The dragon questions the Watchers, not knowing what or who they are. Chapter 2, verse 7. A dying elf tells Kaim about the shrine of the cult of the Watchers, and Kaim begins to suspect that some evil bond connects the cult and the Empire. Taking off towards this temple, the dragon explains that the elves guard the seal nearby in the desert. Perhaps this was the reason why the Empire attacked the elves in the first place, to weaken the defense of that seal. After arriving near the shrine, you come across a new type of enemy. 3 actually. Red enemies are different variants of normal enemies that are extremely resistant to magic attacks, not counting pact attacks that allies use. If you attack them with magic, they counter you with a green magical blast towards you, which can be easily dodged. Another way to avoid these is to, well, cast magic again. Casting magic on the ground actually gives you some iframes as you cast, meaning that you will take no damage during this time. The second type of enemy here are catapults, which is a rare sort of enemy in ground missions and are operated by a small number of ground troops. Typically one per catapult, but sometimes catapults are lined up next to each other. Catapults deal a lot of damage and are capable of killing Kaim in around 2 hits. They should be your priority on the ground, especially if they are your objective. The third new type are what the game call Wizard Priests, which are enemies with a small amount of health that fire fast pink magical missiles at you. They are a pain if you are on Dragonback, as their accuracy is quite high. After routing the enemies, the captured elves are not found. Kaim is frustrated and questions the dragon with his sword, not knowing where the elves went. The dragon is also stumped, stating that she has no idea what sort of ambitions drive humans. The dragon then finds that Verdelay's voice has fallen silent, who is of course who Inuart and Furiae are going to. The dragon suggests that she and Kaim hurry to the desert. An elven child then crawls up to Kaim, pleading with him to help him retake his village nearby in the Fairy Valley. Kaim shows a lack of remorse, shoving the child away from him with his boot. Chapter 2, verse 10. After hearing the villager's tale, Kaim turns toward the Valley of the Fairies. Hatred fills his heart, and makes him deaf to the dragon's counsel. Only the spilling of imperial blood can sate his lust for revenge. Kaim and the dragon battle towards the valley from the sky. On the ground, however, something else is occurring.
Riverside, Lucagan, my brothers, forgive me. Forgive me. What evil have I done? My brothers butchered, our home put to flame. And where was I?
What's this? What's this? You betrayed your brothers? Your sorry, pitiful little brothers, dead on the ground. What fun! What fun! Yuck! What a painful sight! Look! Look! Looky, look! What was the last thing they saw? I
No.
wonder.
No, I cannot bear to think of it.
Makes you sick? Humans are pathetic! Pathetic! Dirty! Smelly! Might as well just die! Hey, that's it! Kill yourself! Go on! Finish it off, useless human!
But I...
You're scared? Dying is good! You don't want to die? Really? No! What a bore! Seriously, finish yourself off! Oh, hold on! Of course! Let's make a pact!
What do you mean?
You don't get it? Hello? Is that skull as hollow as a helmet? You and me, together forever! Loser! Loser! But seriously, let's do it! A pact! Please! Please!
Leonard's pact price are his eyes, meaning that he is blind. Leonard is, well, a very complicated character. Whilst it isn't explicitly stated in-game, it is heavily hinted to and confirmed by Yoko Taro himself that Leonard is a pedophile. His inclusion isn't an endorsement of his actions, however. Leonard is a pathetic coward of a character, and at no point does the game try to justify him. He is, however, a very human character. It is because of this lust that he wasn't there to defend his family, who now lay dead at Imperial hands. I personally think he is a disgusting human being, but he is also an exceptionally well-written character. Just because a character is disgusting doesn't stop them from being well-written. Through the game, he gets expanded on, as every ally in the game, being the NPCs you can use in battle, have their own chapter dedicated to them. We see the fairy in the cutscene take advantage of Leonard's trauma and instability, manipulating him into a pact. Leonard, who sought such a gruesome form of lust, loses his sight, never to lay eyes on children or anything again. Leonard is 32 and stands at 6 feet, or 183 centimeters. Chapter 2, verse 13. Kaim goes to the village not to save lives, but to take them. With rage in his heart, he flies through the dark fog that shrouds the fairy valley. There in the forest, a man named Leonard, bereft of all light and hope, is forced into a pact with a malicious fairy. Advancing through the foggy forest, you find goblins for the first time, which are very weak enemies that jump at you to attack. You may think that they will attack the enemies as well, but that isn't the case. The Empire incorporates them into their ranks. Kaim and the dragon find Leonard.
The sound of your blade tells me you are a Union soldier. I am Leonard, at your service. Yes, my eyes are blind. Like you, I have paid for a pact.
To be blind to the foolish hopelessness of humanity is a happy fate.
Yet, I am not blind to the knowledge. The dead are returned to the earth, their lives to be mourned.
Leonard becomes the first ally in Drakengard, meaning that should you equip him between verses, you can transform into him and use him, as explained in the gameplay introduction section. Judging by the bodies around him in the cutscene, we know he is a capable fighter, despite being a simple forester. What we also learn about him later on is that he is to a degree a pacifist, and during his character chapter later on in the game, he begs Kaim to not kill, just like the other characters do. Leonard, however, is much more liberal with his ideology. Chapter 3, verse 1. Kaim suddenly loses contact with Verdelay, to whom he had entrusted Foreword and Inuart. Concerned for their safety, Kaim immediately flies to the desert.
Kaim! Thank goodness you're safe.
What of Inuart and Verdelay? Were they taken?
Yes, to protect me.
So, the dungeon must be close. Break through and we may find them.
I will be safe. I am a goddess after all. Please, Kaim, you must save Inuart and Verdelay.
Kaim, Leonard and the dragon soon come to Foreword's aid in the crags of the desert. Foreword explains that Verdelay and Inuart were taken as they were protecting her. Kaim is determined to find and save them from the dungeon. Foreword states that she will be able to stay in the crags, as she is a goddess and will be able to stay low. Chapter 3 verse 2. Hyderlog Verdele and Inuart have been captured by the Empire. Having left Furiai alone, Kaim flies through the Black Desert night towards the Imperial dungeon, where he believes they are held. So before we move on, I do think it is incredibly silly of Kaim to leave Furiai behind. I mean, she is literally one of the keys to the world's harmony. If she dies, it, well, may end. It's my opinion that he would ideally take her with him, but I guess not. She did insist, after all, that she is fine staying here. After massacring more Imperial beasts in the sky, the two take to the ground to free Verdele and Inuart from the dungeons. During the fighting, Verdele communicates with you for the first time. After this, Kaim approaches Verdele.
At last. So, you are Kaim.
Verdele, you know something. Tell us, what is happening?
The Empire is not satisfied with mere conquest. They seek complete reconstruction.
Of the world?
Yes. They want the seeds of resurrection that will appear when the seals are broken. The goddess's life is in great danger.
The seeds of resurrection? Humans twist even the myths to their own purposes.
Hmm? Please help. The Empire must not destroy these holy places. The entire world is in danger. As each seal is broken, the burden on the goddess grows greater still. Please! Even the Empire's soldiers deserve our mercy.
You cannot preach to this one. He cares only for settling old grudges.
May the gods bless us, their poor children.
What difference between he who prays and he who kills? Fools, one and all, these humans.
As we have just heard, the Empire wishes to destroy the seals so they may rebuild it with these seeds of resurrection, which appear when the seals are broken. With each seal that is broken, the more of a burden Furiai feels. Verdele, on the other hand, will be expanded on later. For now though, he is 72 during the events of Drakengard and stands at 178 centimeters or 5'8". Chapter 3, verse 4. The Empire is plotting to destroy the seals and kill the goddess, and thus release the seeds of resurrection. Inuart has been taken to a different Imperial prison, where a voice of the Cult of the Watchers speaks to him relentlessly.
If only I had more strength.
If only I had more strength, then I could protect Furiai.
Who's there?
I could protect her and make her my own.
Stop it!
Take her in my arms, surrender her to no man, my betrothed. She shall love only me.
Please stop!
All mine, Furiai, all mine, all mine, all mine. No man can have her, no man, not even Kaim.
No! No more!
Loves only me, looks only to me, holds only me. Furiai loves only me. Me. Forgive me. Deeply, deeply. Please forgive me. Gaze only on me. Please, gaze upon me. The goddess will die. The one who serves as the seal must be killed by the strain. The burden will destroy her.
No.
She is just a normal woman. One who was to lie beside you, laughing and carefree.
If she ceases to be a goddess, can she become a woman again?
For many, many years.
What should I do? I want to help her.
You need strength. Strength that comes from a pact with a dragon.
Kaim could help.
Kaim? Allow him to bathe in her gratitude and love.
She
is my bride. She is my bride. Her kisses are mine alone. Her love is mine alone. If only I had the strength.
If only I had the strength.
What we see here is Inuart being seemingly manipulated by a force of sorts, presumably the Watchers, whilst in captivity in the Imperial dungeon. The voice, according to the portrait, is of a little girl of some kind, who is bathed in crimson, with the eyes glowing like the Imperial soldiers. She takes advantage of Inuart's insecurities, especially about Kaim, and soon enough, Inuart's eyes become red too. He has been overtaken by this force. Chapter 3, verse 5. At Verdelay's urging, Kaim flies to the seal in the desert, but waiting in the sky above him are gargoyles, creatures born of lifeless stone. Swiftly taking care of the enemies in the sky, Kaim and the dragon soon land near the desert seal, and begin wreaking havoc on the Imperial soldiers attempting to destroy it. Now, let me just say, this mission is a large difficulty spike, at least for me. The enemies you must kill are very beefy and deal high damage, so it's best you take them out on the dragon, presuming the ranged enemies don't give you a hard time. During this time, they find Inuart's harp in the sand. This doesn't happen on screen, only through dialogue. This isn't the only time something like this happens. Think back to the soldier dialogue, who in battle are an invisible force much of the time. In some levels though, it makes more sense that Kaim is alone and slaughtering many thanks to his infinite bloodlust and the dragon. After taking care of the forces attacking the seal on the ground, Verdelay and Kaim approach it. However, an undead creature, described to be servants of the darkness by the dragon, appear. The verse that follows has your objective to be to take care of these wraiths. They are unique enemies because, as Verdelay says, if you walk slow, they do not attack you. If you walk normally, they will attack. It is a shame though, because they are extremely easy to kill, so there isn't really much point in using this to your advantage. After taking care of the wraiths, more Imperial forces turn up. Unfortunately, no matter how hard you try to complete the objectives, the seal is eventually broken by the Imperial forces. Chapter 3, verse 9. Kaim's efforts are in vain, and the seal of the desert is destroyed. Bitterly disappointed, Kaim and Verdelay return to where Furii awaits them. There they show her Inuart's harp, which they found on the desert floor. What does the lost harp mean? At that moment, a strange voice begins to call to them. After returning to Furii, they show her Inuart's harp. The burden grows larger on her, and she collapses onto her knees. Still, she insists that she can press on. The pact partners hear a voice nearby, but it is far and faint. They seek it out, knowing thanks to the dragon that it is from a jail nearby. This verse is where you see the aforementioned spectres, which are enemies that you can only hurt should they throw their scythe at you, giving you a small window to hit them with blaze before it circles back round to catch you. Later in this verse, you fight 2 of these at a time, alongside enemies that can only be damaged if they stop protecting themselves in stone casing. It is quite a challenging verse. After clearing out the abominations from the sky, this cutscene plays.
No matter how much I hear it, I can't avoid that voice.
Is that so? I've grown fond of it, I have.
Long as it's a woman, huh? You're the odd one, liking an elf like that. Have you seen her eyes? Pretty scary if you ask me. Even when she smiles, they're dead.
Me, I feel sorry for her. Better for her if she had died with the rest of her family. Right then, let's go settle her down.
Careful, mate. She'll get you for sure.
That's all right. We're not her type now, are we?
What the?
Oh, bloody hell! The Union! They're attacking!
It is too soon for you to die. Now, you will come with us.
Arioch, like Leonard, is an ally that you will shortly acquire. She enters a pact with two elemental spirits known as Undyne and Salamander. They commonly speak in Arioch's stead, as she is, well, very mentally broken since her husband and child were slaughtered by the Empire, and she may have been sexually abused by the soldiers that guard her cell, as per the dialogue in the cutscene. Despite this, the two spirits barely speak in the game, only appearing 4 times, 3 of them in dialogue. In the Japanese version of the game, they don't even have voice acting. Arioch's pact price was her womb. She is 24 and stands at 175 centimeters, being 5'7". Kaim and the dragon murder their way to the jail from both sky and ground, eventually meeting Arioch.
You too have a packed beast. What is your name?
Arioch.
You surrendered your womb.
Tell me, are there any children here?
Fear not, they have been evacuated.
So there are none here. A pity. They're so sweet. But an adult will suffice.
Get back! DrakeNieR Natila. DrakeNieR Natila. Ha! This lock spell will hold her, but for how long I cannot say. I will take her with me for her own good, as well as for others around her.
So this is what you call human kindness.
Arioch has a taste for human and elven blood, but hungers mostly for children. This may be sourced from her lack of womb and the killing of her own child. She desires a child in any form possible, and if she cannot have one in her womb, she will have it in her stomach. At least, that is my interpretation. Chapter 4 begins with the group resting at a camp in the wastelands, but soon enough, a large darkness descends on the group, and Inuart approaches.
That smell.
Another dragon?
Inuart!
With a dragon? That means you have made a pact.
Furiai, come with me. There is nothing to fear. The world will be better now. You need not be the only sacrifice.
He has been broken.
I'm not weak anymore, Kaim. Why are you staring at me like that? I'm strong now. I traded my songs for strength, Kaim. I can protect you now, Furiai. Don't give me that face, Kaim. I can see the scorn in your eyes. You would sacrifice your own sister in the service of revenge! Welcome to a world without song.
When NieR turned his sword on me, I felt no compassion or mercy, not even fear. No, only anger filled my heart. What right do I have to preach to others now?
During the fight, Kaim realizes this black dragon that NieR has made a pact with is the same one that killed his parents. Enraged, Kaim charges, but his dragon protects him from the black dragon. So as I said at the start of the video, I may source some information from the other 2 games in the Drakengard series. This is one such case. The dragon that NieR has made a pact with is called Leonard, who plays a prominent role in Drakengard 2. For now though, that's all I'll say about the dragon itself. Kaim, the dragon, and Verdele fail to protect Foreword, who gets captured by NieR, throwing his harp, his once source of joy, aside. NieR's cost for his pact was his ability to sing. Quite a small cost, but keep in mind it was a large source of passion for him as a bard. During the cutscene, you may have noticed that NieR also easily pushed Kaim back. Despite being a bard and less of a soldier than Kaim was, this may also be sourced from his pact with the Black Dragon. Chapter 4, verse 4. NieR flies away in the direction of the Empire. Kaim waits for his dragon's wounds to heal, and then he, too, turns towards the Imperial lands. After the dragon heals, Kaim heads toward the direction of Imperial lands, where the war effort and NieR are. Here, they find that more beasts aligned with the Empire are afoot. A new enemy can be found here too, which can only be damaged if you hit them from the back. A beast mounted on a turret, or, as Verdele calls them, subhumans. So going back to Verdele. Verdele is an interesting character. It is around this point in the game that most people will realise that, whilst a greatly respected figure in the Union, he is a selfish coward, and is perhaps senile, repeating things constantly, especially pertaining to the remaking or the end of the world. Another thing about Verdele is his pact price, which was his hair. As stated, pact prices are typically something valuable to someone. Kaim wishes connection, so he loses his voice. NieR values his ability to sing, so he loses his ability to do so. Arioch wishes for her children to come back, so she loses her womb. Verdele, well, he loses his hair. According to a 10th anniversary interview, Verdele is the character who regrets his pact price the most, as he used to be rather handsome. This may also show a somewhat narcissistic side to him. He is, compared to the other characters, rather subdued with his lesser characteristics, but he is not a good person. He benefits greatly from Kaim's nature. After clearing the beast from these lands, Kaim travels north to a snowy tundra, further toward the Imperial lands. It is in this chapter that the dragon comes to understand Kaim's bloodlust, being sourced from his desire for revenge against the Empire, as one of their dragons killed his parents. Verdele comments on this, and the dragon later questions Kaim about it, who doesn't respond even telepathically. One strange thing that happens in a cutscene after fighting through the enemies in the tundra is that the dragon somehow reads the mind of a dead beast. I might be missing something, but this was never addressed regarding how exactly she can do this. Perhaps some dragons can innately do this to dead creatures to track prey or knowledge. Either way, she finds that NieR has taken Foreword to a fortress of some sort. After this, a scream is heard, signalling that another seal has been broken. This is the seal broken during Arioch's character story, the Ocean Seal, which I will cover later on, meaning that the final seal is Foreword herself, the goddess seal. They have no time, and must fly to the Imperial lands and find the fortress where Foreword is held. Chapter 4, verse 9. From the beast's memories, they learn of a shorter path to the Empire's lands. The path is guarded by Imperial soldiers and huge golems, forged from rock. But now that each seal has fallen to the relentless Empire, Kaim and his small group have no choice but to brave the dangerous path. Now, let me tell you that this verse is, at least for me, one of the hardest in the game. You have to fly through a small set of ravines, all whilst being pelted by magic from below, and if you fall from your dragon due to such, you will still be attacked by them. That, and there is a new type of enemy here, being a large golem that has a furnace for a face. I love its design like I do the others, but the enemy itself is quite easy to take down on Dragonback. I simply just blasted it with fireballs until it died. After flying through the ravines and finishing the verse, a cutscene plays to kick off Chapter 5. Chapter 5, Verse 2. The Union has amassed all of its forces to confront the Imperial army in a final battle, but the Empire's evil factories have built immense one-eyed war monsters. Before them, the Union forces can only turn and flee. Kaim and the dragon take to the air to destroy the Cyclops and turn defeat into glorious victory. You begin this chapter by swooping down to one of the Cyclopes, which is one of the most defining moments in the game for me. These are new types of enemies which have a very large health pool and fire an eye ray toward you. They also sometimes summon beholders, you know, the ones from Dungeons and Dragons, to assist them in battle. Even being able to deflect their eye rays off the beholders to hit you when you are behind its head. They are one of my favourite enemies in Drakengard, mostly because of this feature. The grand battle that follows is considered to be the final battle of the war, where all forces, Union and Empire both, have brought their all to battle against the other. During my playthrough for this video, this was by far the most kills I got up until this point in the game, and took me 30 minutes to complete. There are a lot of enemies to both kill and objectives that fall under killing as well. I imagine that if they had more budget that there would be many NPCs on the map helping you. Not just on this level, but most of the levels, as stated. I mean, even the Union soldiers exclaim that they will stand by your side, etc. Upon destroying your final foe, the verse ends, and the dragon comments on a certain unease that she feels. Something evil. Chapter 5, Verse 4. As the soldiers sense victory, jubilation sweeps through the Union army. Though his joy is tempered by concern for Furiae, Kaim too takes grim satisfaction in the destruction of the hated Empire, but above them a cataclysm gathers.
What is it? What's going on? Judgment is at hand!
Chapter 5, verse 6. Massive fireballs from the Empire's floating fortress smash into the once quiet battlefield. The Union's victory and its army are lost, and the land is turned into a hellish wasteland. A power inconceivable has been unleashed. It is an awful portent that heralds death of the goddess and the breaking of the seals. Kaim is gripped by a remorseless rage. So the game outright tells you at this point that the Empire has a floating fortress, which is where these fireballs rain down from. This is the first time this fortress is mentioned outright or revealed, and presumably where Furii is kept. As it was mentioned, she was kept in a fortress prior to this. This is a massive counterattack by the Empire, and the jubilations of the Union are very quickly stopped. The sky up until this point in the game was progressively getting more red, and it is here that this apocalyptic omen takes form. The sky is crimson red, and the ground is crying with blood. Approaching Verdelay, he questions if this is the result of the last seal, the goddess, being killed. Despite Kaim's anger toward him for suggesting such, he continues rambling, stating that it is the judgment of the gods and that mankind is cursed. This moment is a really big turning point in the game, and let's just say it doesn't really get any better. Well, besides one of the endings, but we'll get there. Chapter 5, verse 7. After the fire falls from the sky, Imperial soldiers rise one by one from the dead, like demons of the underworld. What evil power reanimates the Empire's army? This verse has you cleaning up the remaining Imperial forces, alongside a new type of enemy variant, undead enemies. These are much like the standard enemies you fight, but they have a higher health pool and deal much more damage. Verdelay's senile and repetitive behaviour only worsens from this point on, questioning how much worse things could possibly get if this is what happens when the seals are threatened to be destroyed. What will happen if they are destroyed? The dragon, too, is beginning to realise what mankind is truly capable of.
The days when humans feared gods, or the days of fairy tales.
After clearing the ground, Kaim and the dragon take flight to clear the surrounding area. In the distance, they see the eerie sky fortress. It is incomprehensibly large. After trying to fly up to it, the two realise that it is too high up, even for the dragon. In the sky fortress, however, Inuot's mind continues to warp.
Priestess, let me have Kaim.
Release not the Watchers.
I am strong. I feel love. Love for the Watchers. Love for you. But who are you?
Inuot?
Inuot talks to a little girl, who he refers to as Priestess. She is the one who originally possessed him, and she herself is also under the influence of something. At this point, she is the one guiding the Empire, meaning she must be acting on behalf of the cult of the Watchers, who, as a reminder, are the large, cult-like influence controlling the Empire. We will learn about her later in the game, but we learn that her name is Mana. Inuot, though, seems to be slowly losing his mind, not just with his growing insanity, but literally too, even questioning who Furii is for a brief moment before leaving to fight Kaim. The next verse begins with Inuot flying down to do battle with Kaim for the second time, this time on Dragonback. His cries imply borderline, if not straight up, insanity. Inuot, at first, might seem quite challenging, but he is actually rather easy to fight. The trick here is to not actually lock onto him with the fireballs. Inuot's black dragon is aspected with lightning, making it extremely easy for it to dodge your multi-hitting fireballs. What you need to do is hit him with your larger and stronger fireballs that don't lock on whilst he is casting a spell, leaving him suspended in the air as he does so. If you do not do this, you are going to have an extremely hard time with Inuart. He can even dodge your triangle attack quite effectively. After Kaim bests him, Inuart flees back to the fortress. Chapter 6, verse 3. Riding the same air current as Inuart, Kaim and the dragon manage to reach the fortress. Now they must find the sanctum that lies at its heart and rescue Furii. This verse has you taking out the outer defences of the fortress, mostly consisting of small cannons that you must take down in a large set of halls before going to the middle and taking out the final spire of cannons. I don't know why, but the whole scenario of being the last one left and the only one capable of taking down this immense power reminds me of the final battle of A New Hope. Just an observation. One thing I am glad about is that someone actually questions how on earth this thing can levitate, and of all to question this, it is Verdele. I think it is simply just magic sourced from the Cult of the Watchers. Pushing inside, the dragon has no choice but to let you continue the massacre and head toward Furii. The interior is massive and angled, with enemies absolutely filling it. It is unlike anything else found in the game. I personally love it. The blue hue reminds me of the old photos you can find. Apparently the smoke in them is sourced from the indoor smoking that was legal at the time, hence why you don't really see it anymore. During your charge you hear Furii crying in pain. To progress towards her, you must push through 2 floors and disable the force fields that protect the pathway to her. Yes, you heard that correctly. It does come out of nowhere, but the Empire has access to future technology, not just by medieval standards, but today's as well. This is never addressed at all. Yep, that is it. Just, they have force fields and generators that are operated by people in medieval armor. Oh, Drakengard, you aesthetic soup. Anyways, breaking the force field and making it toward the room where Furii is held, the following plays out.
Speak not the Watchers, draw not the Watchers, write not the Watchers, sculpt not the Watchers,
sing not the Watchers, call not the Watchers' name.
Kaim, has the last seal been broken? Come out now, the seeds are sown. Kaim, be strong! The world itself is in mortal danger! Will you allow your sister's sacrifices to be in vain? Kaim!
Unfortunately for Kaim, he is too late. Furii is dead, and the final seal is broken. Kaim despairs, but the dragon pulls him out of it. All they can do now is fight and stop the Cult of the Watchers from taking advantage of the appearance of the Seeds of Resurrection. Chapter 6, verse 5. Kaim is too late. The goddess, the last seal, his beloved sister Furiae, lies dead, and the child priestess Mana encants the catechism of the Cult of the Watchers in celebration. With the last seal broken, the Seeds of Resurrection threaten to appear on the earth. Suppressing his rage, Kaim turns from Mana and flies away to stop the sowing of the seeds.
What have you done? I broke the seal. Now she's useless.
The Watchers laughed.
The Watchers laugh. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Furiae, but I did it for you. I did it all for you, and yet I could not even sing for you. Was this all for myself? Did I kill you?
La 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 la. La 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 la. Watchers dance. Such fun.
The Watchers dance. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. The Watchers, they dance.
No more pain. Furiae. A miracle. The goddess will live again.
Chapter 7, verse 4. All the seals are shattered. The Seeds of Resurrection are sown throughout the world, and the end of time draws near. Freed from Mana's curse, Inuart takes Furiae's cold body in his arms and resolves to use the seeds to bring his love back from the dead. Kaim flies in pursuit. Only evil can spring from the seeds, but Inuart, lost in his grief, will not hear the truth. Chapter 7's gameplay consists entirely of this second fight with Inuart. This fight is largely the same as the first, but I noticed that he is a little more aggressive, firing many more lightning attacks your way. What you will notice the first time you do this fight is that to beat him, you do not actually have to reduce him to 0 HP, but rather to 20% of it. There is a reason for this related to the second ending of the game. Inuart flees in this branch of the game though, with Verdele pleading with Kaim that it is useless to continue the battle, as there are more important things to battle for. So, fun fact, this is actually the last time you see Inuart in this branch of the game that leads to the first ending. He is outright removed from the plot completely and doesn't have any true closure. However, he does get closure in endings that aren't this one. So fear not. In my opinion, this is a problem with some games that have multiple endings. Some endings are outright neglected in terms of some conclusions related to characters. Branches are basically how the story progresses, with each branch leading to different endings. These will become more apparent as I continue to talk about the game. Alright, on to the final chapter of this branch of the game. Kaim and the dragon fly to the city to destroy the seeds there, as all of the races from across the world will attempt to tinker with the seeds, which may lead to who knows what. As well as this, Kaim exacts revenge on the priestess Mana. The landscape here is hellish and crimson, with the imperial city below looking like monoliths built by the devil himself. It is one of my personal favourite visuals from the game. During your fight with the beasts above the city, Verdelay says that if mankind enters the seeds, a new world opens to him, at least according to legends. This is a massive foreshadow to multiple endings in the game. Verdelay also proves his cowardliness, questioning what will become of him now that the goddess is dead. From the sky though descends a worm, a legendary dragon that has been prodded out of its lair by the presence of the seeds. The red dragon hesitates, saying that to do battle with it is a terrible thing to do. Kaim urges her on, however, and after increased hesitation, they charge on.
The myths come alive! I cannot go further. The worm. It is a terrible thing to battle the sacred dragon. Let go! You cannot warn me now. Damn fool. I will regret making a pact with a mad fool who believes in neither good nor evil.
This fight is moderately difficult. It has two noticeable attacks alongside the constant rays its children fire at you. A sideways fire attack and a large ray attack that it charges up. Between these phases, it gets surrounded by its children until it is damaged again, after which it takes some time to become invincible in an egg-like orb, or become active once again. My strategy for this fight was to dodge away from its fire breath, depending which way I am. So if I am to the right of the worm's fire, I dodge right. After defeating the worm, the dragon thanks Kaim, knowing that it is because of his push that she has become far stronger than she could ever imagine. The verse's exposition hints that the dragon may be feeling strange new emotions toward Kaim. This can only really be summed up to either appreciation or, maybe, romantic feelings. This is expanded on in Ending A and in Drakengard 2. During the following battle, the dragon expresses care for Kaim, warning him to be wary of himself and not just the both of them. This is quite different, as before it would always be because of the fact that if Kaim dies, she also dies. Although she still does this during a boss fight coming up. The following battle takes place on the ground, charging toward the temple where Mana is. You need to collect a handful of keys before being able to enter. One thing I noticed during this verse is that you actually cannot collect items from chests if you are not Kaim, but instead an ally such as Arioch. This is just a strange oversight, I think, because in order to collect keys as an ally, you have no choice but to wait for you to become Kaim again. Anyways, after you collect the keys and beat the small gauntlet of undead enemies outside the temple, you may enter. Inside, Mana awaits, but she is guarded by a second, massive gauntlet, consisting of waves of enemies of all kinds. The dragon pushes you to keep fighting. It is quite a challenge, but if you use an ally, you should be alright. Plus there is a chest in the back of the room with a health orb. After slaughtering the final enemies, Mana stands alone. Chapter 8 verse 6. At last Mana stands alone. Verdelay stops Kaim from exacting his revenge. The killing of a child, no matter how evil, is a crime too great for any soul to bear. Instead, Verdelay steps forward to mercilessly seal the evil within the child. But, as he begins to chant his spell,
Please, I am the Hierarch. This is my duty. Om Galek Nealifre Natila, Om Galek Nealifre Natila, Om Galek Nealifre Natila, Om Galek Nealifre Natila, Om Galek Nealifre Natila.
Do you still try to live? Pathetic. Pathetic.
The Watchers, or the Gods, whichever you wish to call them, have used their possessive powers to turn mana into a Colossus. This fight is one of the hardest in the entire game. In her first phase, she often summons an invincible shield around her, whilst also conjuring several magical missiles that fire toward you at a very high speed. Dodging these is quite tricky. I, personally, dodge to the side before immediately charging forward. In the second phase, Mana summons horizontal magical halos that emit from her. These are incredibly hard to dodge, and in the third phase, it is made even harder, as even more are summoned in random directions. It took me over a dozen tries, but I eventually did it. My strategy was one of doing as much damage as possible before the third phase, where I carefully wore her down. After defeating Mana, she falls back down toward the temple, where the following plays out.
Oh, stupid, all of you! Fleeing the resurrection! The gods are watching. It is their last judgment. We will be transformed. We fear nothing. We are loved. You hate me, don't you? Kill me if you want. Come on, warrior. Kill me. Kill me. Don't hold back. Whoppity whop. Kill little Mana. I don't mind. I am loved. I am loved, you know. See? Mother has to love me. If the gods love me. Kill me. Kill me. If you don't, I'll do something. If you hate me, then kill me. Kill me. Just one big smash. Oh, don't hate me, Mother, please. Please, I'm gonna die, you see? Or you can do it. I don't mind. Kill me. Kill me. I don't mind. Kill me, please.
Time shall never forgive you. You will not die so easily. You will be despised by every soul in this world, unforgiven for all eternity.
No.
You will suffer under the unbearable weight of your crimes. You are beyond hope.
No, Mother! I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I promise.
Who shall become the seal?
We must find a new goddess at once. Another sacrifice to the seal. I am no priest. I am an executioner.
Kaim, I am tired again. Warm me as you did before. Yes, I feel better now. I shall be the seal. No human can match my strength.
But do you know what you offer?
You had best do it before I change my mind.
Mana at this point in time is quite an enigmatic character, but we will come to learn more about her through the other endings in the game. Branch A Epilogue. It is over. Awakened from the spell of the gods, Mana pleads with Kaim and Verdele for death, but they coldly push her away. As Verdele wonders who shall become the next seal, the dragon speaks. I shall become the seal. Verdele and Kaim stare back in surprise. Does a dragon offer itself to mankind? A change has been wrought in the dragon's proud heart. That change will save all of humanity.
Oh, galek nearly free Natila. Galek nearly free Natila. Galek nearly free Natila. Galek nearly free Natila. Galek nearly free Natila.
I have never seen you weep before. There is but one thing I wish for you to remember. Angelus. My name is Angelus. You are the first and the last of your kind to know my name. Farewell, full human.
Ye gods, is it your will that we should live on?
On sacrifices countless, will a new shrine be built by the hands of the gods.
So there is one big reason Angelus becomes the seal here. Of course, there is the matter of the world. Despite looking down at mankind for most of the story, Angelus is a denizen of the world, and comments throughout the game how much worse the world is getting. Plus the fact that as a dragon she will be a lot safer as the seal than a human such as Foreword was. I'm unsure why she vanishes though, but my interpretation is that Verdelay did so to keep her safer. This ending leads to Drakengard 2, or at least comes from another universe following the rough events of this branch. After going back to the title screen, you will notice that there are now extra chapters available to you, with each of these chapters eventually leading to the other endings. What you also notice are 3 new chapters that don't follow the traditional naming convention of the other chapters. Leonard's Regret, Arioch's Madness, and Seere's Prayer. Seere is yet to be introduced because he doesn't appear in Branch A. Allies in general do not get much attention in Branch A, B, and C. They're pretty much just there to help you in battle until they start to get more screen time in the other endings, especially Branch D, which is my personal favourite branch and ending. So to get access to the other endings you must complete the game once and get ending A, which is the only ending you can get before this point. But after you get ending A you can see the other branches that lead to the other endings, which appear on the chapter screen. Some branches lead to multiple endings. This sounds very confusing, but lucky for you I made a graph. This graph contains spoilers, but I'll display it on screen for 3 seconds for those who want to refer to it. If you want to avoid spoilers, look away in 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's gone. Either way, I'll explain along the way how this all works and ties together, but feel free to refer back to this graph if you get confused. Branch B requires you to defeat NieR under 4 minutes and 30 seconds in Chapter 7 after he has started fleeing with Foreyard's body. After doing this, you can progress straight into Chapter 9 in an attempt to stop Inuart from putting Furiae in a Seed of Resurrection, which, as the name implies, may save Furiae. At least that is what Inuart thinks. Just a reminder that Branch A ended in Chapter 8. Branch B and C end in Chapter 9. Angelus mentions that the Seeds of Resurrection also go by the Seeds of Destruction. Arriving at the Imperial City once more, Kaim and Angelus do battle with the dragons in the sky. It is clear that Verdelay and Angelus both know that what Inuart plans may risk further catastrophe.
It wasn't my fault Furiae died. I'm not responsible. The cult, they fooled me.
What do you intend to do now?
Me? I will bring Furiae back. The seeds will beget a miracle!
Miracles cannot be asked for. It's useless.
You lie! I don't believe you! I am strong enough, aren't I? Aren't I, Kaim? The gods are with me!
Inuart, have you thought of what will become of the world?
As long as Furiae is with me, I don't care. What is a world without Furiae?
A drowning man knows not the ocean's vastness, only its depth.
Leave her. Is that what you want to say? Is that the extent of your love? This time, Kaim, I win!
Although it isn't shown, the verse's exposition after tells us that Inuart flees once more. Obviously insane, Kaim intends to kill Inuart before he is able to place Furiae in one of the seeds. This is the last time you do battle with Inuart, who is once again more aggressive than his previous fight. Inuart tells Kaim that Kaim has always belittled him and thwarted his every dream. Despite being released from the Cult of the Watcher's possession, he still feels this way. Verdelay also tells us that the legends say that if a human enters a seed, that they shall be saved, but this may be a lie. Either way, should you defeat him, the following plays out. Chapter 9, verse 4. Shaking off Kaim's pursuit, Inuart stands before a seed. He does not hesitate. Furiae died because of him. Inuart now risks everything on the rebirth of the goddess he loves. But that which is already lost cannot be reborn.
Furiae, you have returned to me.
The final boss of Branch B is Furiae herself, at least an eldritch horror sourced from her body after it was placed into a seed of resurrection. It is an utterly terrifying sight for every character, even Angelus. This fight is also extremely challenging, as Furiae flies around at high speeds whilst firing waves at you that must be dodged, otherwise you will suffer extremely high damage. Her large attack is when she summons 12 swords around her that must be destroyed within 5 seconds or they will fly towards you at extremely high speeds. During this time she is invincible, and should you fail to destroy all the swords, they will fly at you and deal extremely high damage. To beat this boss, I had to go back and grind some free expeditions, but also save up Angelus's triangle attack specifically for the sword attack, because remember, the triangle attack locks on to all the enemies nearby, and the swords are classed as enemies. So with one button, I could simply destroy every single sword. This was the second hardest battle for me in the entire game. Ending B, Epilogue. Kaim stands alone, holding the remains of Furiae in his arms. One after another her sisters rise into the sky, their hideous screams heralding the end of mankind.
The seeds never were, and mankind remains unforgiven.
Crimson lights. A woman turned into a stake will hold the world in a basin of fire.
So ending B is one of the few endings that are, well, open-ended, so to say. It is also safe to say that the end of the world occurred here. Furiae's sisters, as the game describes it, must be at least as powerful as she is. Even if they were slightly less powerful, hundreds of them are capable of destroying mankind. Now, ending C also takes place in Chapter 9, hence why I grouped them both together. To unlock it, you must beat NieR in his final battle within 4 minutes and 30 seconds, similarly to the requirement for ending B.
Kaim, please, let me die. Together with Furiae. I beg of you. Can this be happiness?
A human is at the altar. It must be she, at last.
Almost. Not much longer. Dragons. Tools of the gods. My servants.
This time, NieR doesn't get away. Instead, NieR succumbs to his battle wounds, dying alongside Furiae. Arguably, this is the best fate for NieR out of all the endings, knowing he can die alongside the woman he loved. Ending A doesn't count here because, well, again, we don't have any idea what happened to him. Of course, we see that mana is consumed by the dragons as well, who she refers to as tools of the gods. Unfortunately for her, she is eaten by these tools. These must be the same dragons following the worm to the Seeds of Resurrection, who doesn't appear in this branch. Straight after this, Angelus levels from level 2 directly to her Chaos form, which is the strongest form she can acquire thus far. Remember that Angelus's levels that change her appearance only happen at specific points in the story. The Chaos form doesn't make an appearance in some branches, and in this branch, level 3 doesn't make an appearance. Kaim and Angelus approach the site where Mana died, not knowing her life had already been taken. However, Angelus tells Kaim a horrible truth.
My brethren devoured her. A human priestess's untruths cannot warp a dragon's mind. You humans do not know why we dragons came to be. A baby smiles in the bath. It wants to stay in the water, but the seasons must change. Kaim, our pact ends here. Powers greater than we have baited us to battle. What we desire no longer matters. Kaim, your life burns too bright. You have come too far. And now, I must destroy you. Forgive me.
The final boss of Branch C is Angelus, after she tells Kaim that dragons are tools of the gods made to destroy humanity and dominate the world in their place. Angelus is my favourite boss in the entire game, and that's because I think she is an incredibly fun and balanced boss. She has a few major attacks. One of them is her bite, which is clearly telegraphed as she books her head before it happens. Another is a charge attack, which is also telegraphed by a blue flash from her body. If you get hit by this attack, you will suffer a lot of damage. Alongside this, Angelus can quickly take off and fly to another location in the temple, sometimes spewing out magical missiles which move in angles, eventually tracking you down. These can actually be destroyed by you, with the easiest options being magic. Angelus can also shoot her fireballs at you and spew fire from her mouth, both of which can be dodged easily, or you can hide behind the pillars in the area. It's a shame that we can't spew fire like Angelus does in this fight when we're playing as her, especially in ground missions. Angelus can only be damaged by hitting her head, signalling damage with a large grunt sound. Kaim also talks during this fight, as his pact with Angelus was broken. A lot of people have joked about the thing he shouts.
I am Kaim!
Which on its own seems very anticlimactic and lame, but to me, this YouTube comment puts it best. I am Kaim. A simple line, but one that reaffirms his resolve. He is no longer joined with Angelus. He stands on his own 2 feet, his power his own. And for once, fighting a battle he does not desire, but knows must be done. And in the face of his dearest friend, he won't insult her by showing weakness. After a grueling battle, Kaim defeats Angelus. Ending C Epilogue. The struggle is won, the dragon's blood spilled. As Kaim destroys the seed, not a trace of fear or doubt clouds his face. Outside the temple, 1,000,000 dragons howl as they rise to begin the annihilation of mankind. With the battle lust shining in his eyes, Kaim runs into the light.
Become strong. A pitiful child shall defy the hands of the gods, and a door will close.
So Ending D can only be reached if you complete the 3 character chapters available to you, which in turn opens up Chapter 10. These character chapters are, essentially, what-if scenarios that occur throughout the game. Leonard's takes place during Chapter 2, where Kaim actually goes to the first seal of the forest instead of the Watcher's Shrine.
Our forest is burning! Our forest is burning! All because useless humans come tromping over the land! Awful, smelly, awful creatures!
We must do something.
Hark you, hark! Look in the shadows of the trees. The ones hiding away are probably fine. This, that, what, which? The shadows of the trees. Look closely, Leonard. Look closely. Oh, it smells fishy. What will you do? What will you do? Doesn't it feel dangerous? Are you shaking? Over here! Here!
Just young conscripts.
Right! Young soldiers right out of training, gutted like fish!
If the garrison is here, then the prisoners should be too.
Ahead of the group are child conscripts who have joined the assault on the forest seal. This doesn't stop Kaim, who slaughters all of them without mercy. These children too are controlled by Fays, hence their green skin and the fact that Leonard gets tricked by one which almost kills him.
Hey! What'll you do about the bodies? Stab them again?
I shall give them a burial.
You have time for such luxuries? Well, do you? Do you? Do you?
Please help me. I'm afraid.
Peace now. It is all over.
Oh! Feeling pity for the enemy? Can't start wavering now.
He is just like my brother. His voice.
Leonard, what are you doing?
He is just a child. What?
You fool!
Fool! A masterpiece of a fool!
Kaim, though, cuts the conscript down. Whether Leonard cares about children due to his state or not is up to interpretation. Outside of this, Leonard is kind. It's just a shame that he is the way he is behind the scenes. Leonard begs Kaim to stop killing the children, but Kaim cares not. His sword is drenched in crimson by the time he is done. Leonard's pact partner, the fairy, constantly berates him about his secret and emotional vulnerability. Kaim only keeps Leonard around because, well, it is a secret what Leonard is like. Kaim has no idea. No matter what happens here though, the seal of the forest is broken. I personally think Branch D to be Branch A, but, well, better. It very roughly follows the same events and plot of Branch A, but it just has a lot more characterization to it. Arioch's chapter takes place just after Chapter 3, which is the chapter that ends with the desert seal being broken. It's nice to see Kaim put more effort into stopping the seals from being broken in Branch D, as in Branch A, 2 of them are broken off screen. Arioch, by far, is the least developed character in Drakengard, at least out of the ones that make regular appearances. Despite this though, she is easily the strongest ally you can use in battle. Her magic, should you hold down the triangle button, consists of massive AoEs that one-shot most enemies and also tracks them. If you simply press the triangle button and not hold it, her pact partners will fire out of her in a heart pattern ahead of her, before looping back round and returning to her. In my opinion though, you should only use the latter in niche situations, as the former is extremely powerful. Arioch's madness opens with the group swooping down upon the Imperial Navy, who are throwing women and children prisoners overboard. Why are they doing this? Because they're evil. That's why. Arioch can only wonder which of them tastes the best. Angelus shows her care for the women and children, which proves that despite her looking down on humans, she can indeed show compassion for them. This level is incredibly short and easy, but is one of the 2 levels in the game where you fight primarily over water.
The children. Arioch, what have you done?
So sweet. So sweet. The cute little children. No need to worry. I will take care of you. So sweet.
I smell blood. Why? Arioch, do you not have children yourself?
They were killed.
Killed by the Imperial forces and cast away into an ocean of blood.
And there shall be no more children for her.
The price for our pact was her womb. Solitude and chaos for all eternity.
Only with death shall it end. Now, on to the next temple.
Oddly enough, we see that Leonard has the ability to glide, whilst Arioch has the ability to walk on water. This is likely due to their pact beasts. Kaim continues his fight for the seal, but as we know, it is destroyed by the onslaught.
Where is the temple's seal?
Regrettably, it is gone.
I see.
Pretty. So pretty.
Man makes the seal, and man does break the seal. Will his foolish games never end? We are still safe. The last seal is intact. I hear no cries from the goddess.
Each time we play our piece, we find ourselves one move behind. Back to the desert.
I am overall quite disappointed with Arioch's character chapter. We don't really get much growth out of her here, unlike in Leonard's one. Arioch, though, does get expanded on in some writings, which I will discuss. So, Seere is a character that must be met before you can start his character chapter, and inevitably complete Branch D. After completing the game for the first time, you will get the option to meet Seere near the end of Chapter 4.
It's all right. It's all right. It will be better soon. No. No. You can't die now. Seere. Oh, Seere. My beautiful child. Oh, I love only you.
Mother? Mother, are you sleeping? Father won't move. Mother? Mother, I'll kiss you and then you'll wake up, right? Mother, what is it? What's wrong? Why don't you answer me? Wake up, please, wake up! You loved just me, didn't you? Just me. Only me. Only me.
Chapter 4, verse 11. On their way to the Imperial lands, Kaim and his party come across a village in a hidden valley, where a boy and his pact beast wait. His parents lost, the child has made a pact with a giant of stone.
There's no one left in our village. Mother and Father aren't even here.
Golem, it was you who led us here.
You'll go to the place where the cult is? Take me too! They took my sister!
Golem, you made a pact with this child?
Seere alone. Seere small. Here is dangerous. I go too.
I gave all my time to Golem. He said he'd be my friend if I did that.
Do you understand what it means to give away all your time? Others will age and die, but you will never grow, never pass on. You will be alone, a child forever.
I won't be alone. Golem will be with me. Besides, I became the little hero. Do you know that story? My mother used to tell it to me.
More myths. Why are humans so quick to hide from truth in castles made of clouds? Even Golem feels pity. Well then, let us go. To the Empire!
Seere's pact price was time, or more accurately, his ability to age. He is immortal as long as he has this pact, being inspired by a tale known as the Little Hero. After this verse is over, you acquire the final ally you can use in battle, being Seere. Seere's motivation for much of the story in this branch is to find his sister, being someone in the story we are familiar with that looks quite similar to Seere. Seere is 6 years old during Drakengard, which is really surprising to me because he acts like at least 10 years old. He stands at 110 centimeters, being 3'6". After Seere joins the party, the group continue their push towards Imperial lands. The same cutscene in the middle of chapter 4 plays out, with Angelus questioning Chaim if his family was truly killed by dragons. But instead of walking away nigh instantly, this happens.
Your parents were killed by a dragon? So, to the Empire, the goddess will be there.
There! Over there! That's the valley where my sister disappeared! Please! There might be some clue about where Mana went!
Cult of the Watchers also clue.
The valley is a perilous place. Did your sister go there alone?
No, with her mother. But anyway, that's where she went missing.
A new path then opens up, giving you an option to go to the valley where his sister had vanished. Going there will open up Seere's prayer, being his character chapter to you. The goal of this chapter is to, of course, find Seere's sister, with the exposition between verses written to look like Seere has written them, which is quite a cute detail.
Careful, Seere. This is a dangerous land.
Sorry, but I'm so excited. You came all this way to help find my sister. Thank you.
Oh, the child is so naive. Why don't you go get yourself devoured by an elf, child?
Stay back from there.
A lot of this chapter is chasing down Seere, who manages to get himself kidnapped by various beasts, whether they are Imperial or not. This first part is extremely hard to do on Angelus, so I mostly used Arioch to wipe out the wizards, who maintain concentration on keeping the golems up. After saving Seere, according to the exposition text, the team continues to fight from above, with one of my favourite soundtracks in the game playing, being the Sky battle track for this respective chapter. The string work here is just, it's so good. After taking a respite, a cutscene plays where we see Seere's golem become briefly possessed by an Imperial wizard, even almost killing Seere in the process. After the golem briefly breaks from his spell, the group take their chances to wipe out the remaining spellslingers in the area. Again, I couldn't use Angelus here thanks to the amount of spells being thrown out, so I cut them all down with Caim and Arioch, which thanks to the large amount of goblins gave me a lot of XP. Seere's dialogue here opens some ideas up. He tells us that his mother, who now lies dead, never really loved Mana, his sister, and only really loved him. There isn't really a dramatic grand reveal that his sister is Mana, because it should be really obvious. I mean, look at them, they are twins. This is most likely what drove Mana mad, being starved of love and being abused by her mother. Seere does say after all that her mother did hit Mana. This weak mind made her an easy target for the Watchers, who possessed her and turned her into the priestess for the cult of the Watchers. A theory of mine, since Seere says she vanished in the valley that leads up to the Imperial lands, is that their mother actually sold Mana to the Empire. Another cutscene plays, where we see Seere once again get captured. After fighting through yet another set of creatures in the sky, and more outside a Colosseum, a cutscene plays, a majority of which is the conversation between Seere's two captors.
A wonderful prize today! A human child! A useless child that can't grow up!
You're wrong. I'm not useless. I don't grow old, so I can save up time. I'll save the world, just like the little hero.
Shut up! We don't care about your fairy tales!
It's true. Mother said it's true. Golem said it's true.
The time you're needed will never come, Urchin. You're a burden on everyone. All you're good for is to be a prize in the Colosseum.
I am not a burden.
Who in the hell are you?
We are here for Seere.
An opportunity, Caim, to learn how to use your sword to save a life.
The next segment is essentially a large gauntlet of creatures summoned one after another, culminating in the remaining guard and the two that captured Seere. For this section, I used Arioch's magic to skip much of it. It was incredibly easy because of this. Seere apologizes for being captured during this time, crying out for his mother and sister.
Thank you. Thank you.
Seere, you are safe now.
I'm sorry. I always cause such trouble.
That scream!
The death cry of the fairies. The 3 seals are broken.
Only the goddess remains, the very last seal.
The Union will soon begin the final attack. We too must go to the last battlefield.
Oh, it's my fault, isn't it? I wanted to come here. I wasted your time.
Regret is for fools. What has been done has been done.
Yes, all right.
Seere, your sister.
Forget it. It doesn't matter now. Not anymore. Come on, we have to hurry.
With all 3 character chapters concluded, Chapter 10 is open, being the first true chapter on the way to ending D. Again, Branch D feels a lot more fleshed out because of the inclusion of these characters and their stories. It is my personal favourite ending and branch in the game. To me, it's an enhanced version of the first branch. Chapter 10 opens with Caim travelling to the Ocean Fortress, which is an Imperial establishment built upon an island. This is where Furiae in this branch is initially thought to be held, instead of the Sky Fortress. To get into this fortress, you must destroy the magical border towers to lower the shields guarding it. Once inside, you may realise that the map layout is almost exactly the same as the Sky Fortress, spare the environment being a lot more grim. Verdelay confirms that the amount of enemies and their strength is due to the ether inside of the fortress, which the call to the Watchers, or perhaps just mana, has seeped into it. The game even encourages you to keep pushing forward.
A space bridge?
Are we too late?
Seeing that Furiae has already been taken away through a teleportation spell, Kai makes his way through with Leonard. They both appear inside the Sky Fortress. Leonard, however, seems to have been teleported elsewhere, leaving it up to Kaim to find the goddess. After more slaughter, Kaim finds Furiae.
Don't think of me as a traitor, Kaim. We are creating a new world. A world where Furiae lives. Open your eyes. Hear what our priestess says. We can survive.
Inuart, you mustn't stay here. Please go away now.
The Watchers do not laugh. The Watchers must not wake. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. I'm just a girl, a normal girl. What's this?
This dirt.
No, don't.
Forget the seal and help me. Forget the seal and help me.
Stupid man. Please help me. Help me. Please. Hold me, my brother.
Stop it.
I can see into your heart.
No, that's not true. You lie.
I hate you. I hate you. Filth.
This world needs destroying. I'm dirty. I'm dirty. I'm no goddess.
I renounce it. Please. Please, my brother. So, you failed at playing goddess. Now what?
Look at me.
Do the Watchers laugh too?
Fool, be calm. Control your anger. The seeds will soon be sown. The world is in grave danger. Quickly now, let not her death be in vain.
So it isn't incredibly obvious here as to what is happening. Some say that it is censored in the versions outside of Japan, but this is actually a large piece of misinformation, as even Japanese players say that the script is incredibly vague. Mana refers to Forei as dirty, and by seeing into her heart, knows that Forei does in fact hold romantical and sexual feelings towards Kaim. Hence why she says that Forei wishes for Kaim to hold her. Earlier on in the game, Angelus even questions Kaim regarding Forei's innocence. During Branch A, specifically Chapter 6, we also hear what I initially described as cries of pain from Forei as Kaim is making his way to her. Well, with this newfound information, it could be interpreted as something more, well, not safe for work. Kaim, despite being a mass murderer, draws the line at incest, and out of shame and fear of what else may lie in her heart, Forei takes her own life. Forei's life has been nothing but despair. Her parents are killed, her brother neglects her in a vow of his own revenge, her betrothed is taken from her as she is designated to be the goddess of the seal, and after a kidnapping and watching the world slowly fall apart, she is exposed for things no one else should know. And after her brother shows disgust towards her, she takes her life. She may have doomed the world by doing this, but either way, what sort of life will she live now? So the thing is about continuing to Chapter 11. If you were to continue on with the game here, you will actually be redirected back to Branch A, as the game does make sense if this happens. It's just simply that Kaim, instead of being too late, was forced to confront Forei's feelings towards him. To unlock Chapter 11 and continue Branch D, you must, instead of going straight to Forei after acquiring the key to her chamber in the Sky Fortress, go back through the door and find Mana, who is marked on your map. After following her back through the Sky Fortress, all whilst killing or avoiding enemies, the following cutscene plays.
The Watchers, they sing. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
Stop it! Don't hurt her! Leave my sister alone! No! Golem, stop! You don't understand! Mana is my sister! It's my fault that she became like this! Mother! Be strong, Mana! Mother, she's already dead.
La 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 la. Don't miss the Watchers. La 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 la. Silence. You cannot kill me. I am loved. Loved by them more than anyone else. See? Humans still don't know what they really need. Stupid.
They're all stupid. Salvation lies before them. But stupid people won't be loved.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Those who aren't loved die.
If Seere dies, me sad.
Forgive me. Forgive me, Mana. Golem, please, help.
Now is the time to feel the love of the gods. A deep love. A great love.
A love powerful and formidable. A love that crushes like a mace. La 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 la.
What is it? What's happening? Can that child truly be a god?
Chapter 11, verse 5. The priestess Mana is dead, killed by her brother Seere. With the instrument of the gods destroyed, it seems that the menace has passed, but the world's destruction has only just begun. In the collapsing fortress, NieR clutches Forei in his arms, and together they vanish in a blaze of blinding light. Of course, during this time Forei is still alive, as Mana wasn't there to corrupt her, so this cutscene plays instead.
Furiai! Furiai!
Inuart.
The gods are dead, Furiai. No more gods! We are free! It's all right. All is well now. Have no fear. There is a way.
What will you do?
Furiai, we will give birth to the world. Though paradise is lost, we shall be gods!
The horror begins. These are the Watchers, who are a group of otherworldly beings sent by the gods, but some also refer to them as the gods. They are the ones who control the Empire through the cult of the Watchers. Their goal, through the destruction of the seals, should be obvious: to destroy humanity. The exposition text that follows this cutscene states that the reason they are appearing now is because their instrument, Mana, is dead. To me, this is a fine, I'll do it myself moment. Before, they wanted to destroy humanity from beyond by interfering with humanity from afar via the cult of the Watchers. Now that this is no longer possible thanks to the war being practically over and with Mana dead, the Watchers themselves enter. The characters refer to them as grotesqueries because to them it isn't quite obvious what they are. A theory as to why the Watchers even have followers outside of the possession of the weak-minded is because the death of humanity is akin to the rapture, which to some evangelists or Christian circles is the saving of all dead Christians, and those who are still alive will join God in heaven whilst the rest of humanity dies. The Watchers, who seek to end humanity under the instructions of the unseen gods in Drakengard, will either spare or ascend the worshippers in the cult of the Watchers. In terms of story writing, the cult of the Watchers could just be a metaphor for a fanatic cult or religious groups. So why exactly do the gods want to destroy humanity? Well, I don't think it's actually stated throughout any Drakengard or NieR game, so a lot of the community have come up with their own theories. Through my research, I found a few theories, including one that's simply that the lack of answer is to complement the tragedy and vagueness of the whole series. But I think this is lame, so I will put forth a better answer. In the Drakengard official guidebook, it states the answer outright, at least somewhat. The single absolute existence, the creator who made all living things. All living creatures act according to God's great will. However, humans alone are the sole existence which God's will cannot control. Because of this, God considered often the idea of erasing this failed work called humanity. Throughout the series which sparked from this game, the gods have always been this unseen and Lovecraftian presence that can be pointed to when it comes to what really started it all, because they are the ones who thrusted the world of Drakengard to be this way. In Drakengard 2, 3 and the NieR series, the gods are scarcely expanded on. Near the end of the video I will talk about them a little bit more. Going back to the game. As Kaim fly through the Imperial City to fight back against the Grotesques and find Furiai and Inuart, Angelus aggressively questions what they are and what is happening to the world at large. Imagine their position right now. Large flying infants are now appearing beneath a crimson sky, and all but one of the seals are destroyed. Kaim slays more, as does Angelus, on both sky and ground. The grotesques themselves have large health balls, but don't hit terribly hard. Unfortunately though, the despair only gets more potent.
Let us become one, my beautiful children.
Arioch! What are you doing?
The greatest of feasts.
They're devouring Arioch!
All has become chaos. We have descended into hell.
Stop your slithering. The way is clear. Run for your life.
Wait!
This is the Queen Beast, which is a larger watcher. She is capable of summoning even more watchers at her behest, and is a major focus of the next ending, being Ending E. Leonard, at this moment, devises a plan.
You know it's the only way to clear a path. Go now. I shall stay.
No! I don't want you to go. Why can't you come with us? Why? Leonard, I don't want anyone else to die.
Seere, you are a fine young lad. You mustn't be afraid. I will not die. Now go, please.
Hey, stupid! What do you think you're doing? You'll get me killed too! And if you die, you won't see Seere anymore! Please, Leonard, live! Don't sacrifice yourself! Please! Please! No! Stop! Let me go! You're too scared to die, right? Hey, you bastard! No! No! No!
Death need not be the end of hope!
Chapter 12, verse 6. As Arioch is consumed by the monsters and Leonard dies in the explosion, a path is open to Kaim and the others. There can be no turning back. The surviving members of the group must now face the giant Queen Beast and save the world from obliteration. Charging towards the Queen Beast, you will realise that the skybox is filled with the grotesques. Shortly after, Verdele questions what exactly the Queen Beast is.
The world will be swallowed. What is that? What warps the great time?
The heat! My body is burning!
A reaction? To what? To that?
The child lost his time. Yes, it is possible.
Seere, break.
great time. Perhaps our last chance.
Oh, help us! Please help us! No, no, I don't want to die! No!
Goodbye. Will you take me there?
Are you sure?
I understand. That thing controls time. We can't just leave it or else...
Seere, what will you do?
Only I can stop it. I'm the only one who has what we need.
If you fight that, do you know what will become of you?
A long time ago, there was a brave warrior who drank up all of time, drop by drop. He slept deep beneath the earth, forever young and strong. But then the world became bathed in blood, and the hero awoke. Now is my time, he said. The hero who had drunk of time traveled to the ends of the earth. The hero grew old and weak, and he died. But his time gave the world a new life, the end. It's called The Little Hero. My mother told it to me.
The heroes of the stories are the hopes of the tellers. The hero is in you, too.
I'm so happy. Come on, fly me there.
Can we make it through?
It's impossible! Impossible! What can one child do?
This is what inspires Seere, this legend of the little hero. By breaking his pact, he may become like the little hero, breaking time and saving the Watchers from destroying the rest of the world. It is all or nothing. Branch D Epilogue. Forgive me. Within the eternity, Seere begs his sister's forgiveness, and then time is stopped.
Yes, I can do it! I am the little hero! Will you forgive me now, Mana? At long last, the jumping hands of time will be halted by a weakling cast in eternal solitude.
By freezing time for eternity, Seere saves the world, bringing eternal solitude to it. Again, this is a very vague ending, at least when it comes to the circumstances of how exactly Seere could do this. But considering Seere's lost his time due to his pact, and by breaking his pact he could unleash the stopping of time, it may have something to do with that. Before we move into the final ending of the game, I would like to briefly go over some writings surrounding Drakengard. Drakengard has a subset of stories that can be found in various writings spread throughout different pieces of media. A large source of these writings is the official Drakengard guidebook and the official novelization of the game called Magnitude Negative, which roughly follows Branch D of the game. Many writings following Drakengard are in Japanese only, but fans have come together to make unofficial translations. These writings, especially the ones from the novelization, provide massive characterization to the characters in the game. Magnitude Negative was written by Aizawa Tadashi and was released in early 2004. It is just under 300 pages long. I will read some segments right now. Thank you to Koro_Sensei666 on Reddit for the translations. This first segment is based in the first chapter of the game, around the time Kaim and Angelus meet. Beating its wings helplessly, the dying dragon slowly descended down onto the castle grounds. The gunshots that followed could be heard from where they stood through the sky of freezing hail and storm. The dragon's cry of pain followed from the sound of gunshots, and then it disappeared from sight. Lord Kaim, your wounds are... The platoon leader looked at Kaim's back with a horrified gasp. A long laceration cracked his armor and ran from his shoulder to his lower hips. His back was dyed a bright red, as if the skin of his body had been turned inside out. Kaim gave no answers, merely shaking his head in annoyance. A wicked smile gradually grew on Kaim's lips, and spread wide across his face. From the direction of the castle courtyard came the wail of the dying dragon. Sadness overflowed from the faces of the soldiers, who had shut themselves up in the room. But it was only one person, Kaim, whose body continued to fidget with a cruel smile stuck upon him. Why did it come to this place? The lot of you, try to survive in this dead end. Kaim remained staring out the window. He laughed. I have something to do. Both the platoon leader and the soldiers were stunned and stiffened in place. Kaim pushed them aside, shoving and mowing down the Imperial soldiers that crowded behind the unbarred iron door. He jumped out into the hallway and ran. He heard screams behind him, but he didn't stop. He couldn't see anything anymore. The dragon. They would finally meet. On the brink of death, no less. What luck. He remembered the sight of the black dragon that slaughtered his parents. The image of it chewing his father to pieces and clawing at his mother. The image burned into his heart. He wanted to thrust his sword into the world's pinnacle of life, that overwhelming life. Where? Which one? This was insane. South. It fell in the southern courtyard. He could see the Empire's soldiers swarming in front of him. Kaim lowered himself, and with a roar he attacked them. Immediately it turned into a desperate assault, a flame that burned for the moment at the end of one's life. A flame that burned beneath the skin of one's own corpse. The cacophony of war could be heard all around. Forni and his forces must have cleared the way. It didn't matter anymore. Kaim, who was determined to kill the dragon, ran through the corridors of the ruined castle of the goddess that had lost its prior grace to the dirtied hands of the Empire. He cut down the swarming Empire soldiers and single-mindedly headed on for the dragon, bleeding profusely from the laceration on his back. Arrows stuck out all over his body. There were countless number of small cuts and bruises, but he felt no pain at all. His life was about to end. Kaim burst out into the courtyard. He couldn't even move his feet anymore. The world trembled around him. There, in the middle of the courtyard, lied a red dragon. The dragon that had been shot down was already on the verge of death, and had already lost the overwhelming glow of life it had from when it had struck the castle that day. The blood that flowed from the red giant had become a crimson pond. It looked as if it were melting and turning into liquid. The red drenched against the smoky courtyard of the pale green, against the icy rain. The strength had been drained from the whole of Kaim's body. He couldn't regain focus while the world was blurry to double exposure, and walked frustrated through the world that swayed like a pendulum. Break the chain. This journey of death is my travelling companion. A pair of petal-shaped horns. The dragon slightly opened its fang-lined jaws and let out a low growl. It moved its yellow eyes and looked up at Kaim. The breath alone was hot. Heat blasted into Kaim's face. His eyes dried up, and he bled away the tears that had begun to well within them. This wasn't the dragon that killed his parents. But even so, the dragon race was an enemy unacceptable to take to the skies. There was no changing that. Kaim raised his sword high, but the dragon only gave a slight raise to its head. How a dying human could be the one to take my life. Very well. Kill me if you desire. This neck may be cut by your hands, but that scrap of iron will never be enough to crush my soul. The heat of the dragon flowed within its head. Kaim's blood and flesh stirred violently within him. Do it quickly. With his sword raised, Kaim looked up at the sky. He was dizzy and exhausted. Freezing, rough hail fell across his skin. His body was terribly cold, and the sound of sword fighting that he heard was terribly distant. I'm going to die. 24 years of a meaningless life ends here. Even so, he couldn't think of a fragment of his life that appeared in his final moments. Confused, he squinted his tear-filled eyes at the sky. Not tears of sadness, tears as a physiological reaction. The ether of life flows out of his body. Bodily fluids overflowed from outside him. The world was quiet, as if only the dragon and he were left behind. A dark, cold darkness slowly crawled up from his legs to his belly, and suddenly grabbed his spleen. Suddenly, Kaim felt himself overwhelmed with fear. Fear and unreasonable anger. Am I going to become no more than a lump of earth? Like this? His revenge was not yet finished. Finally, a ripple of memory washed over his mind. In the torrent, the figures of all the people in his life to that moment had appeared and disappeared. He felt that he had realized why his memories overflowed while he was about to die. It was easy, because he didn't want to die. He didn't want to die, so desperately he searched for a way out in his memories. No memory was a messenger from the past, but a rhetoric that grew from the present. And it was then that Kaim remembered. It was the story of pact partners, humans connected with non-human beings. A pact was made in a struggle for one last escape, a small light that only a dying person could find. Dragon, Red Dragon, do you still have the will to live? The dragon tilted its head and let out another hot breath. Ice rain melted with a steaming sound through the air. Kaim looked into the sky. No, his eyes were already unable to see anything solidly. Behind him was the figure of an Empire soldier, who was holding tightly his spear and creeping towards him without a sound. Is there a blue sky that lies beyond those black clouds? I want to see it. He thrust his sword into the mud with all his might. He pulled the arrow out of his neck. He threw it aside, a bit of his flesh still attached to it. His eyes rolled for a moment, but again he managed to regain consciousness. The Imperial soldier readied their spear. Forge a pact with me, dragon. If you and I combine our strength, we can take back our lives. We can go again, above the sky, to the ends of the earth. The dragon's roar echoed through his head. A pact with me? What makes you dare think you are so worthy? Worthy? There's no such thing. I've nothing left anymore. Should I try to bargain, there is truly nothing to offer. Even now, what remains of my life is about to leave this body. But, if it is enough, you can have it. What's left of my soul. And why should I let a petty human be worth my bother? The life of you, sons of man, even if left only to burn for a few moments, would soon become a lump of unmoving flesh, like that of a small fish washed up on a shore. Even those miserable people who are without their own souls, they too will return to their duties, and find their entertainment among the word of crows and other lowly animals. I have lived 10,000 years. I have no intention of mingling with one little trifle of life at the last minute. Would you make a pact with a mouse in order to live? With a staggering beat, he dodged the spears of the Empire soldiers who jumped at him and picked up the sword stuck in the mud. The white light that bounced off the ground cut the middle of the Empire soldier's abdomen and stopped. This must have been the last strength left in Kaim's body. The Empire soldier unleashed another blow from their spear as he fell. It was a discreet blow, one that had hit even as he was already exhausted, but it was enough to finish Kaim off. He opened his eyes, stared at the spear in his chest, stared at the dragon, and crumpled down into the mud. as it was at the same time that the Empire soldiers silently fell. If this is what you choose, then it cannot be helped. For me, I will choose my pride until I've no choice but to throw away my hand at life. I never asked for such fragile vitality. 10,000 years? What a laugh. A wide smile appeared on his face. Dragon, there is no light in my life, but even as I've been torn and cracked, cut down and smashed, broken and destroyed, I've crawled through it all, covered in blood, flesh and soot. I am not clouded by even a single regret. Dragon, red dragon, paint yourself with your anger, buy all those bags of blood with your flames, a pact or death. Until I die, I will wait here. With both arms bent in a strange direction, Kaim closed his eyes. He didn't move in the slightest. So that is the end of the first segment I will read. This second segment is more so about Kaim's backstory, if anything. A royal couple of good character, childhood friends he often played with, Inuart and Foreword. The nannies, one after another, the servants, faces of various people who came and went and disappeared. A crowd of cheers greeted him, dressed up in his finest clothes. The highlight of the Harvest Festival, the morning viewing ceremony of the royal family. The Crown Prince Kaim. Hearing the voice announcing his name to the crowds, Kaim waved his hands with a fake smile. Foreword, who hadn't even shown any signs of the mark yet, was wearing a neat dress and smiling next to him. The people's hands were waving all over the square. He'd seen something very similar to this, in a bird's nest full of white downy chicks. The plaza is full of chicks, waiting for the parent's bird to return the food they swallowed. Yes, even the royal family must wave their hands back with smiles directed to the highest grade. After all, these people were the foundation of their country. Royal mercy was an important part of policy. Between the palms of each other's hands, the balcony and the plaza, the sense of complicity between the actors and the audience right between the two. Vanity, laziness, and fear, respectively, triplets. Long live the king and queen, long live Kalian. The good prince, popular with the soldiers, the refreshing prince, knowing how to smile to the parade. His demeanour was elegant and impeccable, yet smiling and reassuring. Well, as Inuart had said, he was perfect. However, another child, one coloured with flame, lived within his heart. By this time, Kaim had distinguished himself with his swordsmanship, and no one at court or among his soldiers could match him. Was that why? Why he trembled at the urge to kill that welled up inside him? On the balcony, the prince's soul was already smeared with blood as he waved his hands in response to the crowd. Inside his body, the infant of fire continued to scream. Do you know what it's like to cut these people down? These passive, dull, kind people? Those many hands that rustle like the autumn leaves on a mountain. Cut them down, burn them to death. Can you imagine, Kaim? You want to carve them, you want to break them, you want to burn them, you want to crush them, you want to hit them, you want to kill, violate, and trample them. You want them to explode. It is alright, Kaim. You should do it. Let us do it. Kaim's right hand, which had waved graciously outward to the crowd, suddenly began to tremble. He hurriedly grabbed it with his left hand, but without stopping, Kaim hurriedly left the balcony. Foreword gave chase. Seeing him off, King Gap made a playful gesture and exaggerated his soldiers, causing the populace to burst into laughter. But in the blink of an eye, he lost his parents and his country due to the invasion of the Empire, and every day since then, he fought their army as a mercenary. Finally, it was time he was set free. The world allowed him to kill. The weight of the rugged steel armor was more comfortable than the feather-light formal dress made by even the best tailors in the capital. Against those unfamiliar, he slept better under the nauseating smell of the battlefield than in any feather bed that swallowed him whole. The time he spent cutting the flesh of the enemy soldiers and crushing their bones, he prayed that time would last forever. And that is the end of the second segment I will read. I would read more, but we will be here all day. I have linked the Reddit posts in the description if you want to read more of them. I would go out of my way to read extra if the novel was truly canon to the events of Drakengard, but I more so see it as a place to get extra characterization from, rather than canonical storytelling. They are extremely well written and flesh out the characters a bit more, as it takes more time to focus on the small dialogue exchanges and the lore of the world. Kaim especially gets good treatment here. Now then, moving on to the final ending of Drakengard. Ending E, as the chapter selection screen tells you, can only be acquired after you collect every single weapon in the game. I've heard some people online say that you also need to level them, but this is just a lie. You don't need to do this at all, you only need to collect them. Either way though, this is a big grind. Some weapons, for example, only spawn in specific verses after you have to wait for 15 minutes. And by wait, I mean literally put the controller down and just wait, or just kill enemies in the meantime. This is certainly a choice by the developers. I don't really understand why they thought this would be a good idea, but either way, it is one of the many sort of things you will have to do to unlock weapons in Drakengard. Anyways, ending E picks up just before ending D, but instead of Seere sacrificing himself to save everyone, it is instead Kaim and Angelus, diving in to attack the abnormally pregnant Queen Beast, but somehow being transported to, well, let's just see this play out, shall we?
It's the end! The end!
And yet you do not pray.
To whom? What god can help us now?
No gods have ever heard your prayers. To catch the lion's cub, you must enter the lion's den.
No, Kaim! Don't go! Please don't leave me alone!
We will meet again, if we live.
But at least... don't forget me! Ever!
Time lives hand in hand with good and evil. We too must adapt to this world of chaos.
Is this the land of the gods? What is this? This thing? What can we do?
The final boss of Drakengard's final ending is the Queen Beast, the mother of the Grotesques, who are working to destroy humanity. Except it isn't in Midgard, it's on Earth, specifically Tokyo of 2003. This ending was originally a joke inspired by the events of the end of Evangelion, which I nodded toward at the start of this video. This ending, though, would indeed directly lead to the events of the first NieR game after Yoko Taro came up with NieR, being inspired by the tragic events of 9/11. This boss is unlike any of the others. It is a rhythm game. Pressing square will fire out a white circle, whilst the triangle button fires a black one. Movement is automatic, with Angelus flying continuously around the Queen as it fires its own circles toward you. It is quite simple. Defend yourself by matching the colour of the circles. Well, the fight mechanically is simple, but the difficulty itself is extremely high, especially in the later stages of the fight. This fight lasts for around 2 minutes and 30 seconds. When the Queen Beast starts to rapidly fire circles at you, you must also rapidly fire back. If you get hit once, you will instantly die and have to restart the entire fight all over again. No matter how much HP Angelus has, you will always instantly die. If you mismatch a circle, such as firing a white circle at a black one, you are stunned for just over a second, which leaves you open to be hit. A common tactic is pause buffering, which just means pausing the game and seeing what buttons you need to press before unpausing. For me though, this barely helped. Another strategy is to listen to the music that plays in this verse, as it does match up with the circles the Queen Beast fires at you. This method is what helped me, as before making this video I was quite a fan of the soundtrack to this game, and specifically this final verse here. So those bells that I hear are something I pretty much have memorized. Sounds insane, but hey, anything for the video. Please like and subscribe, please. I read somewhere online that this fight canonically lasted for 4 days, but I'm not sure if this is true. A cool detail though. After a rapid series of circles and a final singular note at the end to catch you off guard, the following cutscene plays.
This is Bravo 1. Unidentified target has been neutralized. Over and out.
Thank you for playing!
The particles from the Queen Beast, as well as Chaim and Angelus, caused the apocalypse of NieR to take place, with the whole world and society itself collapsing. These particles caused a disease known as white chlorination syndrome, a bacterial, airborne and incurable disease to spread. Infection causes cell structure to mutate within a tissue under the skin, resulting in chlorination as the cells begin to transmute into sodium chloride. As the disease progresses, victims may suffer from auditory hallucinations and hear ringing or the sound of bells. Eventually, the afflicted come to resemble a white statue made entirely of salt, similar to the appearance of the Queen Beast. Infected individuals either perish from the transformation or become berserk and attack other humans. The bodies of the victims may deteriorate and cause particles of salt to fall from the sky, similarly to snow. More precisely, infection forces a pact to be formed with the god of another dimension. If the victim rejects the pact, they will die. If the pact is instead accepted, the victim becomes Legion, one of God's hostile and monster-like servants. Again, if you want to know more about this, then the NieR games go into greater detail. I may make a video on them in the future, but there are a huge amount of videos already about NieR since it has grown to become a bigger franchise than Drakengard, despite being sourced from it. After Drakengard released, Project Dragonsphere was disbanded and didn't make any other games under that moniker. This is simply because it was made for Drakengard 1, and Drakengard 2 was developed by a mostly different team, and Yoko Taro wasn't involved in Drakengard 2. He was though involved in Drakengard 3 and, of course, the NieR games. So after you fully complete Drakengard by completing Ending E, you get a new free expedition where you can play above Tokyo. Except you don't play as Angelus this time, you instead play as a jet taking down other jets. After finishing this free expedition, you get access to the jet in other free expeditions, by scrolling by the Chaos Dragon option to the 3 question marks at the bottom. Quite a quirky last reward for you once you finish the game completely. A theory that I may somewhat lean into is that the gameplay of Drakengard is purposely monotone, to represent the mindlessness of Kaim when he is killing. This makes sense, especially with the music. The game may be trying to grind you down and make the experience as depressing and headache-inducing as possible. This seems silly, but with all the connotations we have on the table here, that does seem like it is the intent. Even despite the interviews we have about the soundtrack and the admitted inexperience with action games such as the one by the development team. The following is by Yoko Taro. It was about 10 years ago when we were working on the original Drakengard that I thought about the meaning of killing. I was looking at a lot of games back then, and I saw these messages like, "You've defeated 100 enemies," or "eradicated 100 enemy soldiers," in an almost gloating manner. But when I thought about it in an extremely calm state of mind, it hit me that gloating about killing 100 people is strange. I mean, you're a serial killer if you kill 100 people. It just struck me as insane. That's why I decided to have the army of the protagonist in Drakengard be one where everyone's insane. To create this twisted organization where everyone's wrong and unjust. I wanted to weave a tale about these twisted people, and then we worked on NieR. We created this game called NieR, and after the world experienced the 9/11 terrorist attacks and the war in Iraq, we were being bombarded with updates on terrorist organizations and activities even in Japan. That's when my opinion changed. The vibe I was getting from society was, you don't have to be insane to kill someone, you just have to think you're right. So that's why I made NieR a game revolving around this concept of being able to kill others if you think you're right, or everyone believes that they are in the right. Now, do I recommend Drakengard? Yeah. Why wouldn't I if I hadn't made this video? It's nearly 4 hours long, for Christ's sake. This game is one of the most unique I've ever played. I'm not talking about gameplay here, but story. Frankly, this game was made by an inexperienced team made up of inexperienced people when it comes to the action genre. And yet, here we have a game that delivers one of the most memorable stories and one that birthed the NieR franchise. This game was only possible because it wasn't fully checked by Square Enix, who, after realizing what their neglect led to, tried to change the game. But it didn't. And here we have Drakengard. I love this game so much, and my god, I wish more people would give it a true and honest chance. I do believe that somewhere along the line there will be a remake, and it will revive the appreciation people have for the game. But I think a remake of this game will need to maintain the story, but change the gameplay. Keep what makes the game good, and change what people are divisive on, even me. If this game didn't have the story it did, I probably wouldn't even like it that much. Meaning that it really is the story and tone that keeps me. I don't completely hate the gameplay though, let me just get that out of the way, especially the sky gameplay. You can tell it was originally only meant to include that. Originally, this video was going to be about all 3 Drakengard games, but believe me when I say it would have been very convoluted and also a waste of time in some regards, as Drakengard 2 is considered not really relevant to 1 and 3, as it is both not really a Yoko Taro game and only follows ending A of the first game. I also personally have mixed opinions on Drakengard 3 as a whole, but it is a really good place for some research regarding the lore of Drakengard 1, as again, it leads up to that game. Despite this, I haven't really mentioned that game in this video, but I have taken time to take some lore from it, but for most part my research is sourced from writings about Drakengard 1, such as the guidebook or interviews pre-Drakengard 3. Also, I've just noticed that I've probably been pronouncing Drakengard as Drakengard sometimes in this video. I hinted at this in the start of the video. The correct pronunciation is Drakengard, not Drakengard. Drakengard 1, to me, is a standalone game. You can go out of your way and dig out your PS2 copy or emulate it, and after you finish it, put it away knowing you will never get another game like it ever again, for better or worse. To me, this is the case anyway. There isn't any game to this day that makes me feel the things I feel when I play Drakengard. It isn't my favourite game, that isn't my point. I'm talking about a pure, maddening, emotional perspective. Yoko Taro is still with Square Enix and doing his thing, although Drakengard as an IP hasn't been touched for over 10 years. But Dogma, NieR. NieR is a completely different IP, and whilst it does connect to Drakengard, be for real, you can completely neglect Drakengard as a whole and still be a large fan of NieR. I'm not a Yoko Taro superfan at all, as I don't think any of his games are perfect. Yes, not even the beloved NieR Automata, which I actually prefer Replicant over. But his writing style does rival Hideaki Anno for me, who he is an obvious fan of and is also my favourite director. Despite some common digs I throw at Drakengard, mainly the ground combat, there is nothing in this game that draws hatred or even really dislike from me. There is a simple word to describe the ground combat in Drakengard: tedious. Despite this though, yours and Keim's dopamine from killing massive amounts of Imperials does derive both writing quality and an odd sense of fun. Writing quality because yes, as said earlier in the video, this symbolises his bloodlust. If a remake for Drakengard ever gets announced, you will know about it, because, well, I will be screaming about it. Yoko Taro, please, no more NieR mobile games. Alright, that's about does it. I want to give a few shoutouts at the end of the video here to other content creators. These content creators have made their own Drakengard videos, and have given their own insight about the game as I have. Clems has made a large amount of videos on both Drakengard and NieR. He analyses the games in a shorter format than me, but his videos are very, very well made and quite funny. Max Dirat, one of my personal favourite YouTubers, has made a video on Drakengard. I love its title, which is Drakengard Sucks, but it's genius. Your Favourite Son has also made documentaries about Drakengard. And finally, Alexander Reviews, who has made a almost 3-hour video on this game. Whilst I do think that his video is very cutscene heavy, I do think it deserves more attention. At the timing of this video, it only has just shy of 8k views. And he only has just over 150 subscribers. I mean, come on people, go give him more support, please. Okay, that's the end of the shoutouts. Even though these channels are bigger than me, I do want to use this little platform I have at the moment to give more appreciation towards these pieces of media. Alright, that's it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Patreon and Twitter are in the description as well. If you want to become a member of the channel, the option to do so is there as well. Just click the join button and you'll be given perks akin to the one on the Patreon. Stay safe, and thank you again for watching.
Just let it go!
Thank you to the patrons in the shoutout tiers: Worm, Times, Moon Goddesses, Carl Essinger, Krieg 1212, Wostan, Laloa, Operation Error.